Hello and welcome back to the Goat Cave podcast. Today's guest is a legend in the BMX world. He has been on countless magazine covers, filmed many video parts, and had the most iconic backyard in BMX. Things started out back in 1984 when he got into BMX racing at the age of 7 years old. He would later get into freestyle and have some amazing footage in Ride BMX's Thunder video, including a huge double peg down a handrail. In 1998, he would get hooked up with Redline BMX and would later join the S&M team, where he still remains to this day. He was the first person to do the backflip to sprocket stall and the inventor of the Endo grind, aka the Behringer Grind. He has had video parts in some of the most important videos in BMX, like Criminal Mischief, Sentenced to Life, and Odysseys Electronacal. What an honor it is to be speaking with the one and only Matt Beringer. Matt, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Wonderful. Yeah, so before we were starting out here, we were just talking about your backyard. So I love it, man. That new setup that you have is awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, it's just kind of evolves to turn into what it turns into.
Why don't we just talk a little bit about how you got started in BMX?
How I got started into BMX?
Yeah.
Well, in the first place, I was a little kid, and my cousin started racing. And we live kind of in the country, about 15 minutes north of here. And we lived 3 houses in a row. And I had a couple cousins that got into racing. So we all got into it about the same time. Like 1984, we all went and tried it out. And it was something that we loved. And so our parents took us to a couple nationals, and the racetrack was a scene. It was awesome. 4th Street, Thunderhill in the 80s. I was a little kid. I was 7. Some of my best memories for sure are that track and those days of racing back then, and just living in Plain City with my, my cousins living next door and the door next to that, and just riding all the time. It was a kid, Stefan, that lived across the street that already raced, and he got my cousin into it. So we had our little scene right there. And Plain City is like, there's no stoplights in that town. It's small. Moving to Roy, where I live now, is like moving to the big city for me, even though it's still suburbs, because there's street lights and like grocery stores closed and stuff. So got into that, raced a couple years, and then moved here when I was 10. Like, my cousins moved other places. The one that got us originally started, Shane, he moved to North Dakota, and my other cousin Jared moved just south of here. So we didn't really race anymore, and everybody kind of went their ways. Shane kept racing for a couple years, and I moved here and got into skateboarding, and that's what I was all about from when I was 10 till when I was about 15, 16. Then I dusted off my old race bike and went to the track and met some friends there. And anyways, I figured I'd come back here, start back here just because it's still light out, and just kind of be in the yard for a little bit. Kitty cat's bugging me anyways. I'll go into the shop where it's better sound, and we don't have to worry about getting bugged by the kitty and stuff like that, or Wi-Fi going out. But I don't know. This is the yard now. Get some. I probably look like shit.
I love the green. You guys have always done the green ramps, like even at your last house, and it just looks so good. I really like it.
Thanks. The green was before the barbecue 2006. I went pretty crazy and built some stuff, added some stuff, cut a window into a door, built a deck on the back of the house that connected to the deck of the ramp. And so before that, the ramp was all like pretty shitty looking, sketchy graffiti, like that. We made it look horrible. So I was like, gonna have a jam and putting a bunch of money into it. And I was like, okay, if I make it so that it's kind of camouflage and matches the trees, the neighbors will have less to bitch about. Not that any neighbors over there ever really said anything about anything, but that was my thinking of that. And we just kind of stuck with it. And I just kind of kept making stuff green, and except for last year, it got orange right before Halloween, but that went away. It was obnoxious.
Yeah, I feel like orange ramps would be a little wild. There's a park in Toronto that has like a bright orange quarter pipe, and it is the most ridiculous thing ever.
Because I went crazy building last year. I built more than rode last year for sure. I went all nuts. Like every time I'd go to replace a piece of skate light or change one little thing, it would turn it into getting into framework and stuff. So finally at the end of the season last year, it was right before our little Halloween get together, and I went to Lowe's, and there it was, the gingery paint. It was horrible. I mean, it was great for that jam, but it looked so obnoxious.
Yeah, something I love about your current setup too is right behind you, you've got kind of a wooden berm feature, and that really reminds me of the water slide that you used to have in the old place. Do you ever miss Is it the same? Is it a water slide still?
Yeah, these are the pieces that I couldn't make myself get rid of. I just couldn't. I'm having to move out of the old house, and like, this was my parents' old house. And so I was just kind of bringing stuff over here because I couldn't get rid of it. Like, this is the ramp that was in the garage, and bull turn back there is the old Coliseum bull turn, and that actually went to indoor park in Salt Lake and never got used. It probably sat on their loading dock out back for a year or two before it came back here. And yes, I don't know. It's just, I'm like a ramp hoarder, I guess. Like this, even stuff coming back, stuff makes its way back. Like this year I had to go up to Heber, which is probably an hour and a half away, and get one slide turn so that we could make this little deck turn back here and connect the turn to the end of the slide. So I went up to my buddy Eric Porter's and got that one piece, and it fit perfect because it does like a 90-degree turn, and the other ones don't really turn that much. I don't know. It kind of, it's like it'll never be done, but it's as done as it's ever been, and it's weird to not have a bunch of old scrap wood and things that I'm eventually going to put into something. Like, I have one other rail that I don't know what to do with, but that's it. It's not like I've always had extra things that I'm going to use someday.
Yeah, what I love about the slides is that it's just such a unique feature that like you really don't see anywhere else, you know? It's one of those things that like I think everybody kind of dreams about riding a water slide, right? Like I know that the situations that I've been in where I have been able to has been incredible, right? But one thing though, like, you know, I noticed is when I did, those slides are super slippery, so I can only imagine that you had to do some work to really make it rideable.
Good paint job for sure. And the first time we got a slide, it's because Cam Wood's uncle runs a skating rink / water slide, and the top half of the water slide's burned. So we got to go salvage what we could, before they tore out the rest. And that was the first slide at the old yard, and it was like a full U-shaped slide. And that was the one we had for a long time. And then there was all these stacks of these pieces, and these used to make into a tube, and they were out at the old Saltaire, just stacked up like by this old train car out there. And like, it was like just a mess of stuff. So I had friends that went out there and got some pieces, and then we did a couple missions to get a bunch of pieces because you couldn't. I mean, the old slides that were U-shape, when we first put them up, people had smaller bars that were skinnier. Bars got bigger, and you'd be hitting your handlebar at the inside of the turns. So those ones, it was rad to have something at the house, and it turned out so cool. But these ones are a lot easier to manipulate and do stuff with. Like, it's like that's another thing I was doing last year before Halloween is I mellowed out the first turn. Like, if you can see in if you could see that, there's a bunch of cuts on the top of the turn.
Yeah.
Like the middle of that turn, used to be directly above the bottom of the turn, so it had that much overburn.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say, because it looks as if it's, the reason that I said wood earlier is because of all the cuts in it. I thought maybe you had kind of built a wooden berm with it, but yeah, it is a slide.
It was like sawzalling down those slices. I dug out behind it, and then there's a bunch of short track stick pieces that are screwed from the front, like holding behind those seams to make the turn mellower, so that it wasn't so you were like hitting your peg or your pedal when you went around the first turn. And see, it starts on the driveway and down the front, and every piece we could keep, like, turned into what it turned into, this crazy, the most blind left turn in history. So there always has to be somebody watching. That helps a little bit. You can kind of see what's, if you're over here, you can kind of see if.
Oh yeah, you've got
somebody's like on the straightaway or whatever.
Yeah, that looks awesome. Yeah, they have those like all throughout Joyride, like the mirrors, just because you cannot see like some of the corners that you're coming through.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, there hasn't been sessions this year with a bunch of people walking around staring at their phone and stuff, but it's still nice to have, because if somebody aired the quarter and came back, they'd be like head-on collision, brakeless people not paying attention. It would be horrible. So we really pay attention and always have somebody over there watching if somebody's jamming down the straightaway to come around the turns. I want to put one of those little tubes at the first of it, like you'd run over when you drive up to a drive-up window at a gas station that dings a couple times. so you know if somebody's coming down the straightaway. But we're always watching. Everybody's always hanging out over there where you can see what's going on. And now that we made the deck over there and the tabletop next to the jump, you can kind of hang out and start from there, or you can hang out and start from the corner back in the deck over there.
Yeah,
that really changed everything this year. Just the little roll into launch ramp that used to be back there was rotted out, and the deck on the side. And so my buddy Riley said, let's move the metal frame launch ramp over to put it next to the lip. And then that got me going with digging every bit of dirt I could dig from and the new flat bottom over there. And then halfway through that project, we get the idea to use the old wood for that thing over there. I don't know if you can see it.
Yep.
But it turned out so sick. And then this year we got it's called Deck Correct, and we painted everything green, like it took a couple weeks, but there's 2 layers of this Deck Correct stuff on everything, so it's grippy and it's really sealed and good for weathering of the ramps. And the only thing I didn't get that on was the top of the bolt turn over there. Still got to get a warm day for that, but that's it.
Yeah, the ramps look incredible, man. I'm really stoked to see how much work you guys have put in with this like ramp setup,
Thanks. It's like we got our little crew. There's plenty of people. I have lots of thanks to give for that, like Brady and Nick and Nate and Ben and Riley, and oh man, it's not a like, geez, who else? Now I'm gonna forget people. AJ.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty small little crew for, I mean, when we can get together and work on that stuff, or I'm not going too crazy to work on stuff so where nothing's rideable. That was last year. I would just start projects that were so big that couldn't ride anything for months. And this year I was like, I'm not going to let that happen. And it happened for a little while, but we got it done pretty early in the season and had a bunch of great sessions this year.
Yeah, I feel like this year probably would have been the year to actually do those big, big projects. Just with everything going on with COVID and everything, like that would probably be the best time, eh? It kind of sucks that like, you guys were really planning on, having these big sessions and whatnot. Because I'm sure you didn't get too many with everything going on.
Yeah, I mean we rode more than we did last year, but at the same time it was shut down for it. Like when they told everybody to social distance, I was like, great, I was good at that last year. But it sucks, like it sucks not having a get together or having a goal to get to in time for what, because who do you invite over? Like you can only have a certain number of people, and don't want to say, hey everybody, let's have this huge session when it's like nobody's supposed to be around anybody. So it's been a weird year for sure.
Yeah,
off and on with whether anybody can come over, and it definitely sucks, but it's off and on. What's the news going to say this week as to how restricted everything is and if we're going to ride or not? Basically, sucks.
yeah, it's been difficult, man. Like exactly like you were saying there about, you can only invite a certain amount of people, so it gets really difficult. And I've had a couple friends that have just felt really left out because I've been going to all these like cool places, but I haven't been able to bring everybody. And like, it really just comes down to how many people can we have, right? Like this coming weekend, I'm going to a buddy's house who has a bull in his barn, and it's gnarly. It's like unbelievable pool coping on it. It's really cool. You would really enjoy it. But I can only bring like 5 people with me. So yeah, a bunch of people that have been there before that wanted to go back. Unfortunately, I just had to tell them, nope, like I'm only taking people that have never been because, we don't really have a choice this time.
Yeah, it's something else, like, and it gets to where like the only place I can go is work, and I'm like, damn it, like, why can't I do other stuff besides go do what I like? What I don't want to be doing is work. I mean, I'm lucky to still have a job though, but it's like no, the fun has been canceled so many times this year, but we've got our licks in. Like we've had a lot of fun. We've still been like, there's still a couple of us that meet up here or there, and I don't know. It's just kind of that time of year too. It's getting colder. It's already got a little bit of snow down here once that went away the next day, of course, but it's about that time. And it's about ski season, and I wonder how the ski resorts are gonna handle it. I don't know. I guess every day, like I wait to see what's gonna be if there's a lockdown and you can't do anything. Just kind of a play it as we go as to whether you can do anything.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of in the same boat, right? Like in Canada, like where I am, which is pretty close to Toronto, it's pretty bad at the moment, right? Like they are potentially going to be doing a lockdown next week for everywhere in Toronto's area, which I don't know if like Kitchener Waterloo is going to end up being included in that, but I guess we'll see, right? Like who knows at this point?
Yeah, and what do you? I don't know. It's different. You guys are up there, and down here, it's like there are so many people that think it's a political hoax, and it's like totally fake, and everything's made up just to get the president out of office. It's like all made up to just like that's crazy. Like people are such denial about everything that it's kind of making it to where they're ignorant, and it gets worse. But you can't tell them that because they fully believe that having to wear a mask or having to not do stuff is like totally like taking away their rights, and that's not going to happen because this is bullshit. Like this isn't real. It's we don't need to wear a damn mask. This is fake. And there's a lot of people like that around. It's kind of making it worse, and it's kind of nonstop. Like, what do you believe anymore? How hard do you freak out? Do you freak out or not? Are you stupid for freaking out, or should you have freaked out harder? Like, it's confusing time for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we have a lot of people around here that believe, the whole thing's a hoax, just like you were saying. And it's unfortunate because realistically, when you look at it, I'm like, if they are trying to get Trump out of office with this, do you think the entire world, like economy and everything like that, would be shut down for that? Like, when you really kind of look into it,
like, it's not just here, and I think it took a little bit I know it took a little bit for it to kind of like sink into my head, because they were shutting down the NBA and they're shutting down concerts, and we're still going to work and nobody wears a mask, and it's not going to happen to anybody. Do you know anybody that has had anything happen? That's what everybody's asking each other. And then we did our trip up to Oregon for a ski bike trip, and right when we got back, it was like panic shopping. Like, toilet paper sold out everywhere, which is bizarre. But it was like, I remember that if there was ever a big super spreader event, it was when everybody was packed in the grocery store buying up all the damn toilet paper. Like, because the aisles were like packed all the way to the back of the aisles, all the way up to the check stands of people buying, like, panic shopping, buying everything they could buy. And we got back from our trip, and we went up to the ski resort once, and they closed the next day. It was like, oh shit. Now then everything shut down. And this was in March. And then it was like, oh, okay, it's time for everybody to freak out now. And that's when they shut everything down. And I'm like, okay, and my work's not going to get shut down because we make stuff that's for government use or for x-ray machines. And so we're not going to get shut down no matter what. I have a note saying if I get pulled over that I'm an essential employee. But people at work still don't wear masks. It's like not going to happen to us. And then, here or there, somebody gets tested and they're gone for a couple days. And then they're back and it's okay. And other places shut down because one person has something. And luckily, nobody's actually got it that works at my work. But the last 2 weeks, the governor made a mask mandate for everywhere. So now it's like, okay, now we have to. We each have our own zone. I work at a shop there's not that many of us. There's probably like 15 of us in a shift. And we're kind of far apart from each other, but everybody ends up close to each other here or there. But luckily, we've been okay. And now it's everybody has a mask, and some of the people are hard of hearing, and you got to leave them on and just have it on all day. And maybe we should have been doing that since March, but I don't know how many people are saying that are having to go through actually somebody, being in the hospital or dying over this. They're like, it couldn't happen to me. It couldn't happen to me. There's so many people that are saying the same thing right now. Like, it's scary. You don't know. You crawl under your bed and it's not going to happen to you, or you go about your thing with the right precautions. It's scary.
What I think is so wild is that they just put in a mask mandate for you guys when, here in like Ontario, we've had it for months now. And like, I know a lot of people were at the beginning like, all right, whatever, I'll just wear it. It's only going to be like a month of this. And I knew right out of the gate that it was going to be a while. We're going to be wearing masks here for a couple years for sure. Like, there's no doubt about it in my mind, at least.
That's what I think. They keep giving you a time frame of, it's only going to be for this long. But I was thinking, all right, what if say it gets worse and it doesn't get better? It could be forever, and it's scary shit.
Yeah, definitely not great, eh? anyways, to move on from,
I couldn't go up there. I couldn't go hang out with you guys. You know,
yeah,
we're not allowed. You know, like it's the I don't know the whole. Don't really need to. They're gonna have to build a wall to keep us in now because we're not gonna be allowed to go anywhere else.
yeah, it almost seems like it, eh? That's kind of the same thing, right? Like, there's been a couple pros from Canada that have been lucky enough to, they've got some way of getting down to the States. Like, I know Mike Gray was recently in the States, and Corey Walsh is still there, I believe. But yeah, like, traveling right now is pretty much impossible. Like, really unfortunate. I've had quite the opportunities to go and travel this year, and I haven't been able to do any of them, right? Like, I was invited to go and visit the UK and visit with all of these different people I've had on the show. And it was just one of those things that, like, we can't really do it because of what's going on, right? And then I had some of the guys from Huntington Beach, say that I got to get down there ASAP, and it's going to be a while, that's for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine if, like, what's going on now happened during the times that I used to travel a lot. Like, and it's like, I don't know. I'm lucky I got to do some trips before everything got shut down crazy. Like, we did the most awesome trip up to Oregon for a ski bike jam, and it was such an amazing trip. It was seriously like the day after we got back, like shut down. We're so lucky it wasn't the next weekend because it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine. I don't like flying anyways, but I love it when I can make it somewhere. I'm loving it. I could make it to England a couple years ago, and like, I can't imagine trying to do that now. Has got to be tough, but at the same time, I wouldn't want to right now. I wouldn't want to be the one that took the risk and brought it back home. Like, so it's just like, okay, hunker down. And I mean, I'm not going out of town or doing anything anyways anytime soon, but it's a good thing we did it when we could, I guess.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, to move along from COVID here, why don't we talk a little bit about the amazing pro BMX life that you've lived? You're a legend in the BMX world, which is amazing. Like, I've had the opportunity to talk to quite a few, and I know that for a while it's been on my list. Like, I got to hit up Matt. This is going to be rad if he's down with it, and yeah, I'm stoked that you're willing to do this. But why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the first sponsors that you had? Like, when you first were getting really good in racing, I know you were sponsored by Coca-Cola, weren't you?
Yeah, I was when we were little kid racers, and it was like, I don't know, the race thing to do. You get the leathers and a jersey, and my cousin Jared, like, his family talked to somebody at the Pepsi bottling company, and my parents talked to somebody at the Coca-Cola bottling company, and they paid for leathers and a jersey for us, and they gave us some gas money to nationals and free Coca-Cola for a little bit. And I was a little kid, so it was awesome. Like, I still have my little Coke jersey. And my cousin Jared, like, rest in peace. He was a couple years older than me, and he passed away a couple years ago. But he was Pepsi. It was like Coke versus Pepsi. Coke's better. Pepsi's better.
I love it, man. Yeah, it's not too often that you see like a big beverage company like that get into like BMX stuff. Nowadays, you see a lot of energy drinks, right? Like Monster, Red Bull, Rockstar. There's too many to name at this point, right? But
yeah, they did back then. Like, one of the guys on Rad rides for Coke, and it was just a local thing, but it was pretty awesome to. Yeah, I'm sponsored. Like, it was pretty cool. And yeah, you don't see that anymore. Geez, Gatorade. Does Nigel ride for Gatorade? That's a big deal. That's not a energy thing. But got to have an agent. Got to be. Everything's different. Everything's so. Racing was what there was. I mean, there was the freestyle getting going, and there was racing, and that's what there was. You know, it was like for years and years. That's like even when I got back into BMX, that's the place to go. That's where everybody meets. That's what anybody that BMXs goes to the racetrack, and that's all there was to it. And then I got to be like 16, 17, and it was jumping. Jumping takes over. I mean, it takes over my life for sure. And that's how I got my start. Fuzzy moving down the street. And even in the 80s when I started, Fuzzy used to race my cousins. Fuzzy was a local expert, and he was like probably 13. And he could do cans and like reach the hand down and grab the pedal on the other side and stuff. Like he was like a local hero. And I don't know, definitely some awesome days with all that stuff.
What I love about that is that all these years later, you know, you guys are still great friends. Like you and Fuzzy Hall go so far back, you know?
Fuzzy, he was a local legend, the local hero. Well, I mean, even back, because we moved to Roy and I started skating and I got all into it. And my cousin brings over a magazine. Check this out. Like, Fuzzy's in the magazine. And it was such a big deal that Fuzzy, local dirt jumper Fuzzy, is in a magazine, like doing some trick in the magazine. And it was like, oh, no way. Like, Fuzz is famous. It's awesome. Like, and Fuzz got really famous. I mean, he could just throw down. He could 720. He just like killed. He opened doors for all of us with jumping, and he stayed in it for a long time too, going to the big contest. And his wife Terry, like, she lived up in town in our town, Roy, and she was Fuzzy's girlfriend at the time. And I remember Fuzzy lived in Salt Lake, and my friends that rode, we were like 16 driving up in town. It was like, whoa, there he is. And he had some like lowrider truck that was a convertible or something, and he looked like so little Vanilla Ice or something. You know, like, he was a superstar. He was like my idol for not doing what I was supposed to do in life, which was be a machinist on the base or get a real job, because Fuzzy didn't do it. He was famous. He was pro. You know, so it was like, oh, there he is. And my buddy Eli had Fuzzy's number, and I'd try to get to be able to go ride with him. And like, eventually, when I was like probably when I was like 18, like, Fuzzy called me back. Elf just moved to Salt Lake. Probably when I was 18 or 19. Come ride these jumps. And then, you know, we're riding jumps in Salt Lake, and then the next thing I know, he moves a couple blocks, you know, probably less than a mile from my parents' house where I live now. And he gets a house with his girlfriend at the time, Terry, and they get married and they get the house down the road. This was 1990, probably the end of 96. Yeah, end of 96, around there, because I graduated in 95. And then I was going to school to be a machinist, and Fuzzy moved down the street. And that's when, 97 comes around and people start coming to his yard to film him. And I start skipping school to go build jumps. And then 98 happened, and I got on Redline for $500 a month, changed my life. And I moved out of my parents' house, and I moved to Salt Lake, and it went from there. Like, Redline was sending me a bunch of places, and I moved out of my parents' house for the first time, and I was a jobless BMX bum for 17 years. But it was awesome. I got to see the world and just be a broke BMX bum that gets to see everything and go. I don't know. It was all about crashing in front of the right people at the right time. And get back up and try again, pull it. And then videos come in, and then it's like, it turns into what it is now. I couldn't imagine getting into the scene and being sponsored. It wasn't something I ever would have thought would happen. It just kind of happened. Like Fuzzy just end up moving down the street. Like I remember like Fuzzy told me one time, dude, you should ride for Trek, get on Trek, dude. I could get you like 20 grand a year. And I was like, I'm not ready to. I'm not ready to be what they need me to be. I'm not that good. I'm not ready to like fill in those shoes. And by the time you know, he's the one that they said, hey, who do you think we should sponsor? Like probably they talked to Losi and Fuzzy and they put in a good word for me. And that's when I got on Redline and there it started. You know, like move in with my buddies Chuck and Justin down in Salt Lake and ride all the time and film. Like make the beginning was like beginning came out in 2000, but it all kind of started. I had my mom's camera before I got my camera, but I got my camera when I got back from, I think it was 99. I went to France to Fils, to Palavas, and I won the dirt comp. I don't think there was any Americans that entered. I flipped the first set every time. Jumps were bad, falling apart, but I pulled all my runs. I flipped the first set every time, and like the last set, I think I did a double bar spin, a tail whip, a flip, and a front flip, and it was just like holy shit, everything worked out. And then I flew from there to Roots in Florida when it was out in the parking lot wide open, and I did a bunch of dumb stuff, and I got second. And then I drove with Aiken and this guy in the Redline van to contest in Texas from there, and then I broke my collarbone. But it was an awesome streak before then. I like come back and I did so good that I actually had money, and that's when I bought my first video camera, and that's when we really started filming for the beginning. Was the spring of '99, I'd say. Well, yeah, when we were all about the video.
Yeah, some of the stuff that you were doing, you know, back when I was a tiny little, you know, 3-year-old kid, like there's a double like roller coaster rail that has got a kink in the top of it, and then it's like goes really steep. I'll show a photo of you doing it in a second, but that was back in 1999, which is like incredible, you know? So tell us a little bit about that rail, because it blew me away to see that like that was being done years ago.
Well, like, Losi came to town. I had to shoot a Redline poster, and like we went to. There's a hospital across the street from the college, and there's a big, really long rail behind the hospital, and I tried it over and over and over and over. Like my best I got was probably like halfway down it. And I had like grass stains on my knees and stuff. And then we decided to go across the street to the college. And I just happened to put 4 pegs on. Like I'd usually use 2 pegs. And for some reason I put 4 pegs on. And we rolled up to that thing and it was like, holy shit, here it is. I can't tip over. I just tipped over like 15 times. And I finally find one that I can't tip over, but to hop in it's kind of high. I guess it's not high to today's standards, but at the time it was like kind of high. I mean, my bike was like 40 pounds. I had 48s and a Primo Bomb free coaster and a super bulky frame with thick cranks, and so I put a Redline sticker across in between the 2 uprights, and that's as high as I had to hop. And I was like, okay, hop as high as the Redline sticker and you'll make it between them. And then you're not going to tip over. It's going to be fine. And somehow it worked out and it was awesome. But, it's kind of funny because I wasn't planning on that. I wasn't looking at it for a long time before that. I wasn't sweating it. It was just like, kind of like, oh, here it is. I can't tip over. And the picture that's on the other side of that poster is one of my favorite pictures of Superman I've ever got, too, down at 39th Street. And yeah, 99 was a fun year for all that stuff. And I don't know. plenty of stories.
Yeah, so a few years goes by from that, and you did like a quick interview in, I believe it was Ride, or it was Transworld, sorry. But you also talked about doing a pedal grind, crooked down it, like a crooked pedal grind. But unfortunately, at least what it says in the article is that it was capped and that there was no way to really hit it anymore. And then I guess a few years after that, the caps must have come off because Christian Regal and some of the United team went there, and he did pegs to ice down it. Were you there for that?
I got to see him do it backwards, like pegs aside to hop in, and Christian Regal is this. He'll make the spot work. We'll just say that, and he came to town and made the spot work again, and. Because when it got capped, because I jumped up to pedal crooked on it a couple times, and then I put my leg between the rails, and it was like exactly my biggest fear, and I was just like, no, I don't think I'm gonna do this, and then it got caps on it, and I was like, oh, okay, good, now I don't have to. And then Christian came to town, and he would travel for spots, and he would make spots happen. And he had that spot in mind, and like he sessioned that thing. Like it was pretty nuts. Like I was there the day that he did the pegs to hop in to backwards pegs, and he paid the price for it. It did not come easy for him, and I was happy to witness it. And then I guess it's probably in Dollar Bet, and Elf actually does crooked it.
Wow.
And like I was there when Elf crooked it, and we got kicked out, and then he went back, and who was filming? Was it I can't think of who was filming at the time. But those two went back and he got it done. And that was pretty nuts. That whole setup. Now it's just there. Like I did for $1 bet, I did a partial. Then what I rolled up and butt slid it with my bike down, dragging down the stairs. And I did it again. I actually did it again. I did it pretty fast, like faster than I did it back in the day. I was going pretty fast at it because I wasn't as scared of the hop, and it wasn't using the video just to do it. But once you're up in it, you're just. The first time I did it, I wasn't going as fast, and you get up in it, and your bike's just like. Down the thing, like, oh man, that's such an awesome setup. But to be, it's not that I was the first one that ever did one of those. In an old FBM video before that was Ralph Sinisi did a smaller one, and so he's the one that really gets credit for the first one. And it was like I just happened to roll up on a really sweet one. But definitely Ralph Sinisi did it before me on a different one.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably going to be one of the most iconic, roller coaster grinds ever. Like that rail is so unbelievable. Like I cannot believe that exists somewhere. Whenever I have seen something that looks like it could work for a roller coaster grind, it never does. There's always, maybe a pole halfway down it that connects to both of them. That's directly in the middle. I'm like, the fact that they made that work so well is just crazy,
Is it easy? Somewhat easy in because it's mellow to drop in and hold on, like, man, that thing, yeah, pretty unbelievable. Like Duncan Gore came to town and did it, and it was on a different, like a Colorado edit. And like, that was early on, like, shortly after I did it for the first time. And Fuzzy did it, actually. He set his bike up in it and did it once. He didn't do the hop, but he put because you can put your bike up in it and just step on the pedals and go down the mellow part and then drop into the bottom part. And the night that he was there, we got kicked out right after he did that once. So he never actually got a chance to hop in it. But one of the random rare times that Fuzz street rode with us. We had years when we'd go street riding, but it kind of became more rare because he was all about jumping all the time.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk a little bit about the Behringer grind or the Endo grind. Um, so I think everybody kind of knows that this is, an original Matt Beringer clip and trick. So how did you even kind of come up with the idea of this? Because it's such a unique, like fun trick to do. Like it's one of those things that I definitely try and do. And I got to be honest, mine are not as great as yours. You do X ups into them. You do everything with them. They're so cool when you do them.
Well, I don't know, like a lot of my riding, like I kind of was too lazy to keep up with the times on the awesome real tricks on stuff. So I would just find something dumb to do. And I can't take credit for that trick. John Lucky Engelbert did that trick on a props at Woodward East on a low rail, on the low rails on the sidewalk. And I saw that, and it just kind of became the thing that I would find everywhere. And it's like the worst thing can happen when you hit your front peg into the damn rail, but you don't have to hop. You don't have to. I can't jump up and feeble to hard 180 off a rail. Everybody else is like pushing the limits with all that stuff. So I'll just like pick stuff that was like nibble stuff like that was still just a bitch, but like it had my name on it. I just kind of like, even though it was Lucky's trick, I would just find it everywhere. I would just call my name. Like I would go to session somewhere and I would end up doing that trick. Same with the front peg on top of things. It was just like, okay, everybody, you guys all got this latest, greatest stuff handled. Let me have fun because I'm not going to keep up with you guys. Let me have fun and do something that's mine instead of trying to be the latest, greatest and do what's hot. And I don't know, that's riding with Aiken really made me come up with a bunch of weird stuff because he was just the best at turn downs. He could ice pick big rails. He could, and I would just be like, never mind. Like I'm not going to half-ass the game. If he's got it under control, I'm going to make my own game. And that's kind of like, I would go to contests and it'd be like that too. It'd be in practice, everybody's so damn good and they're just on it and they're just killing it and they're winning practice. And when it was finally my turn, I was like, all right, I'm going to make my mark. I don't know. Guess that's a good way to explain it.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great example of kind of what people had seen not that long ago with Daniel Dares and, Brett Banasewicz, a.k.a. Mad Dog, where, Daniel invented the cash roll, but Brett did them so much better and everywhere, right? Like the way that Brett would do them was just so insane and clean. And I've met so many people that fully believe that Brett invented that trick.
He would clear the jump. Back in 19, it was probably 1996, 96, 97, not 97. It was 97. I rode for Super G. I went to a contest in Arizona and they had a jumping contest down a rhythm section that had like 6 or 8. And I don't know how many sets, but they had a really big jump there too. And like, it was like right after Eric Hillstead and I don't know who he was with. They got in a car wreck on the way back from San Diego. And I saw Eric Hillstead was in a wheelchair and I was on my way back up to hit the jump. And I had tried 360 front flips into snow because I could do them on my snowboard. And I just said, Eric, this is for you. Because it was right when he was first in his wheelchair. I was just like, this is for you. And I tried a 360 front flip and I got all the way around and landed on my wheels and just slid off to the side. It was in Children of the Sun. And it was like so damn close, but it was like the most glory send of the thing. And I would try them at different things. I would just always get wrecked whenever I'd try them. And then Daniel Dares actually pulled it. He pulled it at a contest onto the box, but he couldn't clear it. And he called it the cash roll. And I was like, no, don't call it the cash roll. That's like you're looking for,
You're doing it for the money. No, it's a 360 front flip. And I always wish that I would have pulled it before he did to not call up the cash roll because it just sounded so hungry for money. And I love Daniel Dares is awesome, and he can call it what he can call it. He can name it because he pulled it first. I sent myself trying to pull it with no clue as to how to actually pull it. Like when I would spin it, I would actually spin my opposite spin, but that's how I did it on my snowboard. And I would just send myself and get destroyed. I never had actually a hope of pulling it, but the first time that I tried it was so close, like at that contest in Arizona on that Children of the Sun video. Like it was just like, oh man, how come I couldn't have just done it? But Daniel got it. I remember the clip of him getting it. He went super high. And like did like a 180 basically to like flare. He did it at like a whole like pull up front flip style. And then Mad Dog Brett, he could do it so consistently over everything. Like he just learned it where he could make himself go forward, and he was just so consistent over everything. It just kind of became a trick that so many people caught on to. Cash rolls became a big trick in a lot of like big downhill mountain biking and free ride contests. And a lot of people could just pull, same as front flip. That was like my trick for a long time. Front flip 360 was never my trick. It was my almost trick. I'm sure I wasn't the first person to roll out a front flip, but I was the first person to break and, over a big double. But the front flip 360, cheers theirs, cheers Mad Dog. You guys got it and, handle pulling it clean, like how people do stuff. They pull everything now.
Hell yeah, man. That is so crazy to hear that story because, going into this, I had no idea that you had played such a big role in that trick basically becoming what it is. I'm sure
I tried.
that, yeah.
I tried, and I'm sure they weren't copying me. To copy me would be asking to crash. Those guys actually learned stuff to pull it and do it and do good at contests. Not me. I was like, the crowd's going, I'm going crazy.
I love it though. That's kind of the one thing I feel like we're missing nowadays in BMX contests is like, when you look at some of the early Metro jams, like the 2003 one that you were at, where you did this backflip over a driveway gap. And that year was crazy, man. There's people, there's Van Homan there doing a huge wall ride out of a quarter pipe to bar into this bank, and it's just so gnarly. And then there's another clip of somebody else doing a wall ride to tail whip. And this is back in 2003. This is like when bikes were super heavy, everybody had short little stubby bars. And
it was so new. Like people are so good now. People were really good then, but it was more like you're coming up with stuff on the fly that hasn't been done yet. Now so much stuff's been done. Everybody's so damn good. It's so hard to compete with the level. Like it's insane. Like people are ridiculous now. But back then it was all stuff that hadn't happened before. Like it was such a new territory, and everybody, it was smaller. Everybody had their style of what they're going to do, but it wasn't so saturated with social media. There wasn't so many constant videos and constant like footage of people like giving it their all and being consistent. It was like everybody meets up every once in a while that hasn't seen each other unless they saw a video part or a magazine and get together and make it happen. Like, go nuts because here's the time to go nuts. And, my sponsor sent me to this. It's time to throw it down. And now it's like, everybody's so consistent and so good. And it's hard to know, like, the level as to when somebody's pushing themselves. When the level back then, there's a quiet kid at some skate park somewhere that's nobody knows that's just as good as people were back then.
Yeah, definitely. And
hold on a second. Let me put my phone on the charger for a minute.
Yep.
And go pee. So let's take a break for a minute.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put my phone on the charger and I'll call you right back.
Yeah, of course.
All right, cool.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Can
Oh,
you hear me?
yep. Yeah, that should be good. Yeah, I just had to hit re-record and start that stuff up again. So anyways, we kind of left off there talking about like Metro Jam and those early 2000 jams. So I had shown some footage of you flipping that driveway, and some of the clips that were being done that day were insane. Like when you really think about some of the wild things that were done, it's insane to really see, I guess. What were some of your memories of those jams, and how many of the Metro jams did you actually ride in?
Um, Toronto and Vancouver. Those were the two Metro jams, right?
Yep.
I think those are the two. The Toronto one was sick because I flew into Philly and rode the little Devil Warehouse and then drove up with those guys. And that was a crazy trip for sure.
Yeah, I believe it. That seems like it would be really crazy, you know? Those Toronto jams really have a history for being like some of the craziest moments in BMX back then, you know? Like, I think it was Brian Valor did the 360 to hang five, like 180 out over the spine that year.
Yeah. Just the whole, everybody that was there, man, it was definitely nuts. Like, just a wild scene too. Everybody's so damn good, and like Toronto's nuts too. We went to Toronto in the wintertime and went to the bar and watched the Wide Awake Nightmare Square One video premiere, and then people got crazy in the front. A window got smashed, and then we went outside and people were getting arrested and maced or like pepper sprayed, and or what did the cops do? They pepper sprayed this girl that was like yelling back and put battery. Like they're arresting people, and we were like, "Oh shit, we better get away." So, I was drunk, and there was a crew of us, and we walked like a block away from where the video premiere just happened, and I walked out. I saw a smashed door. I didn't know what happened, right? So we get to the intersection, and I'm ahead of everybody, so I make it across the intersection. And Elf, Frymouth, I can't remember who else it was there. They didn't get across the intersection, and they're throwing snowballs at me. They don't know what just happened in front of the bar. They're throwing snowballs at me, and I look over, and there's this girl, and she's like totally dressed skimpy and like fur coat, right? And so they're throwing snowballs at me, and she thinks they're throwing snowballs at her or threatening her or something, right? And she was like, "Yo, your friends are gonna get fucked up now," right? And like, I'm just like drunk, and I'm like, "You guys are gonna get fucked up now," and just like being stupid. And so, like, everybody comes across the street, and Elf gets across there, and I'm like, "That chick's freaking out. Let's say something to her." And we turn back at her, and everybody passes us, and that's when we're joking, thinking we're gonna like say something funny to her or something. And so we turn back, everybody passes us, and she's on the phone, and she's like, "This one's wearing this, and this one's wearing this, and they're coming at me about me and Elf." And we're just like, "Oh shit," right? So we turn back around to go catch up with the crew. We're kind of walking fast, running up, catching the rest of the crew. I mean, we only have a couple blocks to go to where we're staying. And it was like dudes came out of the shadows. Like all these dudes are like running up, and they recognize Elf from what she said, and Elf goes running into the street, and like probably like 2-3 dudes are like, going to like beat the shit out of Elf. And they start like getting Elf down on the ground, punch him and stuff. And I automatically run out into the street, and I'm pulling dudes off of Elf, and I get punched once or twice. And Frymouth and those guys get into the middle of the street, and they get the dudes away. And Elf's bleeding in bloody face, right? And like dudes that did it like run off. I don't know how. Like, I mean, some people were there that smashed on some people I can't think of everybody that was there, but like, you know, to get rid of the dudes trying to kill Elf. And then we went back to the bar we were just at, and the cops had taken people away, and the broken windows there, and they actually cleaned Elf up before the cops came around to like not ask us all any questions about all the stuff that happened, and like the bar that just got their window smashed. And what happened was some people got kicked out of the bar. They smashed up the front of the bar. This, you know, Toronto hooker sees it all happen. She feels threatened. We come out of the bar not knowing what's going on, laughing and, you know, and joking and being stupid and drunk. And then Elf got punched a couple times, and I got punched a couple times, and whoever else got in the mix with this thing in the middle of the street. And then Elf had to tell that story like 500 times the next day of the contest. So that was crazy. Like, there's, I won't even get into any more stories of like how crazy it is there. But that's the story that sticks out most in my mind. Wintertime in Toronto and coming out of the wide awake nightmare thing to hooker calls her pimps to have a throwdown in the middle of the street for a second. But the contest was sick too. Like, one of my favorite things about that contest was footage I filmed of Aiken doing a tabletop over the spine, and I was behind a bunch of people, and I thought that was awesome. That was in his part that was in the extras on one of the Fit videos. The 5-to-1 song.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite things I filmed because he was killing it. He was on top of the game for sure. Like, and everybody in that. Like, I would love to watch that video from that contest and just see like who was there and who was killing it, because it was like exciting, you know. The driveway flip's just something I all of a sudden see, and I'm just like adrenaline and everybody going crazy. And I don't know if I crashed once and get up. I think I just thought, okay, hit my head on the lip, just, you know, like pull as hard as I can, and it just came around. I probably crashed once though. I'm never good at pulling stuff first try.
Yeah, so I had the footage playing there a couple minutes ago, and you did crash once, and then you got back up and pulled it like pretty much right after that, which is so sweet.
It was a glory days for sure. Flashback Friday, throwback Thursday.
Oh man,
I need that guy. I look for that kind of stuff. Like, oh shit, you know, like, because it's cool, you know. Sometimes social media, I'm just like, okay, what do I post? And then I don't end up posting anything. Or, I mean, lately, awesome stuff's happening that I have awesome pictures of, and I'm like, what do I say? And then I get busy and I don't talk about it. And then sometimes I'm like, okay, it's Thursday or Friday. Like, what am I going to dig up? Because there'll be people that talk about stuff that were there. You know, it brings up a conversation, and people don't have time to sit down and watch all those old videos and remember all those old times. You know, it's like everybody's connected to social media through the internet all the time. So it's like you never put your phone down and quit looking at what everybody's talking about and watch any of that old stuff. You know, it's memory lane for sure.
Yeah, I definitely, I can see what you're saying, you know, like something that I want to do once COVID is kind of, you know, under control around here at least, is host a DVD night where, like, you know, once every couple weeks I'll have a bunch of people over just to watch old DVDs and just show people kind of the history of BMX, because through this podcast I've learned so much, honestly. Like, it blows me away how much I know about BMX now. Like, and I never would have known any of this stuff if I didn't actually take the time to sit down and research it, right? And, like, it was a perfect excuse for that.
Dig up history, like search back, and I hoard all that stuff too. I have so many videos and DVDs, and I have every magazine I've got ever. Like, I don't throw stuff away. I have every Dan's catalog I ever got. I have every newspaper clipping. I have every Ride I ever got, every Transworld, every BMX Plus, every Dig, every Ride UK. I just don't throw that stuff away. It's somewhat organized, but it's in the front room. And every once in a while, I just get stuck going through that stuff and see what the era was, see what was going on at the time, see who's who of that time and what the date is on the front of it. And it's like, it's not all online. You know, most of it is, but not the stuff, not it's my cache of what I still have that might not be online.
Fair enough. Yeah, when I was in high school, we had one class a day at the school that I went to where you would basically just read for 60 minutes. And I always went in with BMX magazines, and I had to like argue with one of my teachers because they were just like, "You're not even gonna read it," and I'm like, "I am actually reading all of this shit because I genuinely care about this." Like, yeah, it was interesting, you know. I learned like quite a bit, and I still have a lot of those magazines. And then shout out to Idle Bike Shop, I believe it is. Oh, I feel so bad. They actually sent me a bunch of free magazines recently, like Ride BMX ones. Yeah, I love that. Thank you guys. But yeah, to talk more about classic BMX, why don't we talk a little bit about TJ Lavin's Ultimate BMX? So back in 2001, we saw the release of that game, and it was a BMX video game on the PS1 as well as the Game Boy Color. It seemed back then that there was quite a few different BMX games coming out. Like we had seen Dave Mira's freestyle BMX at that point, and I believe after a few months of TJ Lavin's BMX being out, Matt Hoffman's game came out, right?
It was all at that same time, and it was for PlayStation 1. It was just being friends with TJ, who you knew, like same as Gravity Games game. Like, those guys, Fuzz knows somebody that is doing it and gets me in on it. And I mean, I was never even invited to a Gravity Games. I never even competed in Gravity Games. I never even went to Gravity Games to watch, but I was somehow on the video game. And it shows that I'm sponsored by S&M, but you can't ride an S&M, which is weird. They're all kind of getting out the glitches, like the Gravity Games one was right after PlayStation 2 came out. But TJ's game, when it came out, it was for PlayStation 1. And it was, they're getting the dynamics of it figured out. And, whoever's in on it is, they're all like, okay, this is how it's got to feel as to how you ride. And they all have their input of stuff. And Mira's game, I was so addicted to it. Like, Hoffman's game's awesome because you can land doing flat land tricks. I love that. But I'm so lucky I got to have a chance to be a video game character. That's just bizarre. Like, talk about being in the right place at the right time and knowing the right people. Like, I mean, I know I was like coming up and everybody was new, but like, it was an honor, like to be involved in all this stuff. Cheers, TJ, for sure. TJ rules. Like, and it was new. It was like, they're doing the whose music's on what and this and that and the dynamics of it. It was a good thing to be part of at the forefront of the thing that went away for a long time and then comes back kind of, and then who knows what's new. I don't have anything what's new. I was addicted to the old ones and played too much time out of my life to even get addicted to another game. I'm sure they're amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about that, right? Like, especially when all that stuff was going down. Like, I had Ryan Nyquist on the show, and we talked about his playable character. And I had a couple other people like Escamilla, and it's just so cool to see that was actually like a thing in BMX for a little while there. Because for the past couple of years, we haven't seen a BMX video game other than like Pumped BMX, which is incredible, right? Like, such a great phone game. But yeah,
everybody was addicted to Pumped. The last time we went to Texas Toast, Holt was addicted. Just playing Pumped all the time. Just, you guys iPad, like, I never got hooked on it because I just already I'm like, okay, I was already so addicted to Mira 2 and to Grand Theft Auto. I can't get sucked into the video game world again. But Pumped is awesome because it actually had the dynamics of doing something while you're playing compared to which button to push.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that, after the Skate series came out, a lot of people really want that, right? They really want a BMX game that has the same kind of physics where it's really realistic. And unfortunately, it's just back in those days, they couldn't make those games realistic like that. Like, it's the same thing with the Tony Hawk games, right? You would do an air on a quarter pipe and you would go 300 feet in the air. Like, it's just one of those things that they never were able to make it like that. And it's a video game. You shouldn't have to. It should be fun, right?
It's more, I mean, there are so many people addicted to Tony Hawk. Tony Hawk was one of the biggest. Tony Hawk 1 was one of the biggest things ever. There's people so addicted to that never skated, or like people that rode that didn't skate. People that had nothing to do with skateboarding got so hooked on that game. Just like Guitar Hero, you're the hero for a minute. You can get the high score. It's got the cheers after you do it sometimes, and it talks shit if you don't do something. Oh, greed or this. It's just entertaining. It's so damn fun.
Yeah, exactly. But to go back here on the game that you were in, so how were the characters picked and designed? Like, I'm sure you had some sort of say in the way your character looked, correct?
Yeah, and the Gravity Games one, we went and actually did motion capture for. Me and Fuzzy and Andre Ellison. No, I think pretty sure. But like we went to anyways, we went to a jump in a warehouse in San Diego and wore the suits that had the little reflector balls on it. And we had a trick list of what to do. So the Gravity Games dynamics is actually us really riding like the tricks we did. And some of the tricks are ones that Fuzzy had names for from the 80s and stuff like that you can't do on other ones. But like, if you made me do a front flip on that game, it's what they filmed of me doing one and stuff like that. So that was pretty awesome to have a part of that.
Yeah, it's such an interesting way that, they were making games back then. That's how they did it. And it's so cool to see that they used your actual, like skill set in the way that you actually rode rather than just, throwing you on a random character and all the tricks are going to look the same because they've only been made once. Rather than that, they've took the time to really build something where your front flips are going to look like your front flips. And nobody else's.
Technology of that stuff. I mean, is it when you play the new pumped games, does it look like, the certain character doing the certain trick, or do they all look the same when they do the trick? I don't know. Maybe they're at the forefront of that. Maybe they've included that. I just haven't played those games to know.
Yeah. I'm not 100% sure. I know that there's a couple 3D like BMX games that are supposed to be designed like the Skate series from EA, but those games are still in development and they're very small crews working on it. Like one of them has been, they started a Kickstarter almost 8 years ago now. And like, there's people that, there was a person that paid a absurd amount of money to have themselves put in the game and it's still not out. So I'm kind of like, I wonder how things are going with that, but it would be nice to see something new.
So, well, I mean, like Pumped is so amazing, like those guys did such a great job, and like props to anybody that's doing a game out there, but like, what if, who's the latest, greatest, top, awesome pro? If they had a game that had their name on it that was for PS5, it would be, would it sell? Would it be the hot thing, or is it not new enough? And does it take too much effort to make an awesome game that is for the newest system or whatever? Like, I don't know. Do it up, Red Bull. Do it up, Monster. That'd be pretty damn awesome if you could go out, see a game or have a game that's rented, or one that probably some of the newest stuff would be like, if, gaming is so big now, if there was a game like that was new, it would have to, you'd have to like have a headset on and be talking to your buddies that are sessioning with you, like you're on the course and you're sessioning with somebody and you got like we are, like we're talking, but we're playing a damn game. That's the future of it. That's why people get super addicted to all the games now, because they can talk shit to people.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely a big part of that, right? To see the change in technology is crazy.
You have to have the big screen. You have to have the setup and the big screen. It'd be fun to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think Pumped actually came out on Xbox and maybe PlayStation. I'm not sure, but I think you could buy it on those, Xbox 360 or Xbox one of the two. I can't remember. But yeah,
That's sick.
yeah. I mean, props to those guys, right? They actually put in the time and the effort to make a game, and it did pretty well. Like, everybody was playing that.
It was a thing in the early 2000s, and it just kind of wasn't a thing anymore. There wasn't a market for it. I don't know. Like maybe phones came in and made people not game so much for a minute. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like people
not like Hoffman 7. Like that'd be so sick, right? Like I don't know who's putting what into it. Who has time to put what into it? Where's the money for it? I don't know. It's interesting. It's cool that it's came and went a couple times, like finger bikes, and that was cool to have a little piece of, like it came and went, it comes and it sells until it doesn't sell anymore, and then it goes away for a while, and then it eventually comes back again. It's kind of happens with a lot of stuff, I guess.
Yeah, while we're on the topic of finger bikes, right away, I honestly regret, I don't even know where my finger bikes went, but I had a few of them, and I feel so dumb for I guess I threw them out or something. I don't know why I did that, but you actually have a Flick Tricks bike and ramp setup that was designed after your ramp at your old place, which is so cool. It was like a green half pipe with your bike setup. How did that come along? Because that is just such an interesting thing to be a part of.
Pretty much Flick's Tricks coming in to get they had Heath's Jump, they had different stuff. They started making different spots or whatever, and they talked to S&M, and S&M had them do that stuff with me. They were probably making Fit and S&M. That's how it all happened, through Fit and S&M. And it's like they just told him, hey, this guy's got a cool ramp, and they came and we did a little jam at my house, and we had a little best trick contest on stuff, and the guy that worked for Flick Tricks had $100 bills for me to give out to people, and we just had a session, and people did wild stuff, and I was giving them $100 bills for however many different contests we had set up. We probably had a invisible half pipe contest. I don't even remember. We had a tramp bike contest for sure, but that was a cool piece of history to have, because I've got relatives in different parts of the country that see my yard in Kmart. It's pretty unreal for sure, because that's like the toy aisle, not like a video game that's in a sleeve, or it's like who knows what's on what. It's like there's my thing where you can see my name on the toy aisle. And it came with a DVD that Stu put together that had old stuff. It had the old barbecue jam footage on there and a couple different things. So they did, they talked to props and they set it up. It was pretty cool. It was definitely awesome to be part of. And I've got a couple of my bike. I never had an action figure. Mikey has an action figure. I have a Mikey action figure with bike that's signed, and a fuzzy action figure that's a unlicensed one that I got in Canada, I think, from some company up there that didn't get it licensed. So they didn't really look much like those guys anyways, but
yeah, they just throw their name on it, right? Yeah, that's so wild, man. I love the fact that, like you were saying, your relatives could just go into the Walmart toy aisle and all of a sudden they just see you on, a literal toy. That is awesome. That is so cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's pretty wild that happened. And it's like that yard, man, it had its day. It was like the sickest BMX house. It had its it had its start where it was like my first house that's big, that I can have a bunch of roommates and we can have a big yard of ramps and trails. And it was I don't know, when I first got on S&M, and my parents helped me get into that house, and I had enough roommates to pay for it and enough sponsors to have that house for like 12 years. Like, cheers to all my sponsors for all the years. Holy shit, that house is awesome. my whole life that whole time was insane. Like, unreal. I can't believe I lasted so damn long. It's because of that house too. That house had a big part to do with it, because, you know, I'm not the latest, greatest of the, you know, the hottest street stuff. And I didn't really like have that many. I mean, I had awesome parts and kept doing parts, but they didn't like continue as long as my career did because of the house. I was kind of washed up before the house went away when it comes to being hot on top of the scene. I mean, I do nipple stuff and like do my thing, but it's not like it was that new anymore. And I was hot, you know, I'd been in it for years and years.
Yeah, your house was incredible, man. And what I loved about your house was the fact that, like you said, you had different roommates that would come in and out. And you also, you know, you had let a lot of different bike companies come in and hang out there with the crew and whatnot. Like, you were hosting jams all the time.
It was like a free skate park, free hotel free skate park, free motel for anybody that rode. There's so many people that stayed at that house that I didn't even know their name that were there with people. Like, my roommates there, like, had to probably be walking over people to get out to go to work. I mean, I remember, like, there's like 12 people staying at random parts of the house on the floor. There were so many people for certain things. Teams coming through, you know, more. I'll know one person that has their whole team, and they'll all be crashing on the floor. Or one person of any crew that's not a team of partiers that, you know, I mean, everybody can stay because it's a big house. Like, that place was unreal. Ultimate BMX house / bachelor pad party house that ever existed. And what a wild time.
Yeah, I love it, man. Watching the videos of, like, you know, different riders at your house, you had Red Bull come by, which is insane. Like, you just had all these, like, awesome pros. You know, there's footage in Anthem 2, which, you know, is my favorite video of all time. There's footage of a bunch of people riding your backyard, and the shed setup was always one of those things that really stuck out in my mind. I don't know why, but I think it was just so cool that there was, like, you know, a jump up onto a roof, and then you jump off the roof into a landing ramp.
That setup, the crazy way that setup came about was my roommate Brian, my roommate bowling ball Brian. Like, we got hammered. He was going crazy, like, and we ended up flipping that car over. His car was already on the side of the house. There was something wrong with it. It was smashed up. It was a little shitty car. So we rolled it into the backyard when there was a bunch of people there partying, and we ended up flipping the car over. And I woke up, like, hungover the next day with an upside down car in the backyard. So I had some friends help me flip it back over, and we rolled it over in front of where the shed was. We rolled his little Civic over in front of where the shed was, and we just built some dirt up to the side of it. And so there was, like, dirt up to the side of it to jump up over the cars to the top of the shed, onto the shingles. And we sectioned that. Then eventually put a bunch of boards on there, cover the car more. Can't see the car no more. And then Afro Pat was there. He made a little quarter pipe on the top of that. That was sick. And little quarter pipes on the top of that thing. And, oh, geez, I can unplug this and show you it. It was actually a poster of Van, an orchid poster, when the little quarter pipes up on the shed. Can you see that?
Let's see here. Yeah, wow, that looks awesome.
Yeah, there's, like, that's where the car is like right under that. Like, the edge of the car was always just barely covered with dirt, or like usually it would end up showing. But we put boards on there, and Afro Pat built that little quarter pipe up there, and, like, it got session like that for a while. But then, you know, with progression of the yard, eventually we got a tractor and put a big dirt landing behind it and got rid of the top.
Yeah.
And right after, like, it was seriously like right after we took apart that little quarter pipe on top, and I built a little transfer off the one line, is when Taj came and did the downside whip from the transfer across one way to transfer back across onto the shed and downside whip and 3'd off the shed. That was in the T1 video.
Wow.
But it was like right before that is when we took that little quarter pipe off, like the week before. Not planning for him to be there and do that.
Yeah, that's
So
insane, man.
That's just the way stuff pans out, you know? Like sometimes things come out of nowhere that just are just unbelievable. And just everything aligns to make it perfect. And that was one of those things for sure.
Yeah, we're watching the Little Devil like house tour video that you did, and in there you show off your garage ramp, and I've actually been able to ride a couple different garage ramps that I gotta say were probably inspired by your setup that you had. When did you get the idea to just set up these tight bowls and whatnot in there? Because it is crazy to like look at that ramp setup, you know?
Back in the day when I lived here, kid down the street had a 4-foot tall mini ramp that was 8 feet wide. When I just skated, I didn't ride at all. I just skated for however many years. And so I bought the ramp from the kid down the street, the little mini ramp, and it was right directly behind the shop right here, like 8 foot wide, 4 foot tall. And so we get the winter time here, and it's seriously like, I was pretty young. I was probably like 12, 13, and wintertime happens, you know? And my dad had just built this shop, and it didn't even have, like, it was just rafters in here, right? So I remember my head could fit between the rafters, and I hadn't grown yet. You know, I hadn't really, like, got tall yet. And so it turns wintertime, and over in the corner, right over here, in that other corner, I had a ramp that I built from the 4-foot ramp. Like we tore down the 4-foot mini, and I built a ramp that was like 2 foot tall on one side, a little skate quarter. It's only like 2 feet tall, and the other side was a vert wall, so you could like go back and forth, and it was just like take up like, you know, hardly any of the shop of my dad's shop that he built. And that's what was in my head when I finally get a house of my own. I was like, that ramp was so fun. That little ramp that's like just a little tight vert wall and a little quarter. So we get the house in Layton and move into that house. And I remember a kid, because like Aiken and Timmy, like they were like, who's going to park in the garage? Who's going to park in the garage? And I was like, nobody's going to park in the garage. I'm building the ramp in there. And so the one night I started trying to figure out the ramp, and I cut the transitions for the little quarter pipe that went up against the chimney, and the 4-foot tight radius transitions. And that's when I decided to figure out how to make a bowl turn. And my first attempt of bowl turn was 2x4s every this far, a whole bunch of wafer board side plates, because I had some 4x8 sheets of plywood, and I figured, okay, I can get a 4-foot radius. I can get 4 of them for one sheet. So that was what I did. I cut a whole bunch of 4-foot radiuses and just started sticking them together and worked on it all night till the sun was coming up in the morning. That was the start of the garage ramp. And then it was just, I could work on it all night. I could build in there all night. I could saw, I could screw gun, I could just totally like make noise. I could make all kinds of noise, and nobody would wake up in the house, and the neighbors wouldn't get pissed. So the garage ramps at the old house was my obsession with building at night, like so many times, and wintertime, being trapped in there. Like, it was much of a obsession as any of the yard here or any of the yard in back there. But it was wintertime when you couldn't go outside and you couldn't do any of that. I had my own spot to just make a full bowl and just build, and like, you know, it was the only thing we had to ride in the wintertime too. And it turned out so sick. Like, it was so amazing at the end of its life of being there. It was like just, I don't know. It was just another room in the house. Like it was so damn sick.
Yeah, I'll have to send you some of the footage of me riding these other setups that I was talking about, but yours is just so insane, right? Like the fact that it's all bowled out and like you've got a curved wall in there, it just looks like it was honestly the best place to session. And we were just watching some of the footage there, and like you see Mike Aiken like just shredding that place. Like it honestly seems like he built the place, right? Because everybody knows that the guy who built it is going to be the best at riding it. But Mike, man, he's just such an unreal rider. Like for him, that place looked like it was perfect.
He definitely he was one of my first roommates that was there. He definitely helped with it, and it's kind of like trails too. You know, like he was there for day one when it was almost nothing, and he evolved with it. Like, and he was, even when it was very first getting built, like he's so damn good. He's unreal, you know, so he just evolved with it. And when probably the footage you have when he hits his tire on the ceiling and like rips around there and like safety cases the pocket, it would make wind, man. It would like, he would be going so damn fast, and it's so much tighter than the footage gives it justice for. And yeah, he definitely like just like most things, like just like anything Mike ever would go to. He'd just have his flavor and just do stuff that nobody would imagine of doing, and just do it first try. Like what a badass. I doorbell ditched them today and left them some bar ends and a headset cap.
Nice, man. That's so rad. Yeah, well, we're on the topic of that. So you had mentioned earlier, and I think a lot of people know this, but you are a machinist. Like you went to school for that at the beginning of your pro BMX life, and your dad was a machinist as well, correct?
My dad had a friend that had a shop up in town, and my dad was a policeman. And he had a friend that had a shop up in town. Everett was my dad before I was born. And so Everett was almost like a father type figure. Like he was an older guy that had a shop up in town. And that's where I got this first, he got, I was like 10 when my dad built this shop and got that machine from Everett, the guy up in town. And like my dad got all into it because his friend had a shop. And, like he taught him a bunch of stuff, and my dad made kaleidoscopes. That was what my dad figured out how to make, was kaleidoscopes with a stainless middle and brass end that turned, that had 3 mirrors down the middle of it. And so like after my dad retired from being a policeman, like he actually worked on the Air Force base that's near here as a machinist. And like just my grandpa was also a machinist, like, and made tools. So my mom's dad had his tools. I still have his old toolboxes and stuff. And so he would make stuff on this machine, and my dad would make kaleidoscope on this machine. And so I was like, probably maybe I was like 11, 12, and they're showing me how to like cut down my skateboard wheels. And like we actually made a full set of skateboard wheels out of like some kind of like Teflon stuff. They were so slick and like super hard. But we made a set of skate wheels to figure out how to do it. And like, so then it's like, high school comes along. It's like, what career do you want? What do you want to do? And it's like, all right, well, I already have been working on these machines, and my dad's into it, making kaleidoscopes, and my grandpa had a job doing it. So that's what I want to get school for. And so when I was senior year, when I was 12th grade in high school, I went half day to high school, and then I went half day to the vocational school at the Ogden ATC, Applied Technology Center. And pretty much, almost finished my schooling as being a machinist, because I went to school after high school too. And that's when Redline career came in. And I was like, I'll go to school later. And then 17 years went by. 17 years went by, and it was 2014. I just got rid of my awesome BMX house because it went from being a house with a whole bunch of roommates to me and my buddy Ethan living there. And my BMX career is going away, and I can't afford to make the payment. And I have one roommate, and my parents convinced me that I need to get rid of this house and find something else. And like, you can't afford this thing. And I'm just like, no, it can't go away. It's going to be here forever. My career is going to be here forever. This is never going to go away. My fantasy life's going to go on forever. But we had to put it up for sale and had to tear down ramps and had to, get rid of the whole thing. So all of 2013 is, I finally tell my roommate Ethan, it's got to happen. The place has to go. And so all of 2013, all I did with the help from friends was tear down ramps and tear down water slides and pull out the garage. And then crews start coming in because my parents helped me. My mom helped me to get the place fixed so that we could get rid of it, which is like, I don't know how screwed I would have been if my mom wouldn't have helped me. Like, I don't know what I would have done with my life. Do I burn the whole place down? I'm so lucky that the place didn't burn down anyways. It was so insane there. So my mom helps me to get out of that place and all of 2013. And, cheers to my sponsors and like for keeping me going. Cause I didn't that's all I did. I didn't ride. I didn't film. I didn't do anything but tear down the damn yard for all year. And, S&M kept me going and Odyssey kept me going. And like for that whole year of not being able to, not having the hot stop on the map, not filming all the time, not producing, like I'll go like a whole year. And that was when like Odyssey was like, hey, we can't pay you anymore. We can't have you be on the pro team anymore. And Chris was like, okay, we're getting new guys on. I'm going to like cut you in half. And like, that's when that was the end of 2013. Like we're halfway through, getting the house turned back into a normal house. And that's when my dad passed away. And like, it was just kind of like, out of nowhere, like, it's never going to happen. My parents are going to live forever. My parents are going to be here forever, and my dad passed away. And then, the house gets turned back into a normal house at the end of 2013. And then, so 2014 happens and my mom says, what if instead of using the money that you get from your house selling, what if you put the money you get from your house selling towards my house? And, like I help you out with that. That's kind of like part of like an early inheritance. And you and Shane move into my house and I'll go get a house by Andrea, my sister. So I agreed to that. And my mom gets a house up by my sister, and me and my husband moved here in 2014. And 2014, that's at the start of that year. That's when I asked Shane to marry, and Shane is my husband, and Shane was, since 2006, right before the barbecue, for how many years, I didn't even tell my parents for a couple of years. Shane was like my boyfriend. Like I was so closet. I was so in the closet. And like I went through different roommates that didn't know where I was going. I had a fake girlfriend. Like people didn't know. It wasn't something I talked about. I lived a total double life. And I gradually, slowly, came out to close friends and family to where it was like, okay, people are like, oh my God, I'm so glad you could finally be real. It was such a big deal with so many close friends, with so many family to finally be real. Because, for all those years of not being able to, it was tough. I was the guy that was somewhere else. I don't know, but it was just, And I was in denial. I had girlfriends. I had a couple girlfriends, and I'm like my last girlfriend Jen. She was like my last chance to be straight. Like, I love Jen still. Like, but years before that, like I was in denial, but I knew like it was just the way it was, and my parents had no clue. Like probably 2008, coming out to my parents, they had no idea. But they got in a car wreck and they were okay. But I was like, okay, like if my parents would have got killed, I would have never been able to be real with them. I would have never got a chance to be real with them, and that would have been the hardest thing. And then so I come out to close friends like here or there if I get talking one-on-one with somebody and I'm drunk or whatever, and like people open up to me and be real, and people appreciate it and respect it, and I'm so much like better friends with people that I could finally like be real, and they could finally say something real that they couldn't talk about. And so then years go by to where it's normal. I mean, like all my close friends know, but I'm still like Mr. Two Life to anybody that I don't really know. I'm the awesome BMX pro, or whatever. That's all they know me as, is through magazines or videos that I can do cool tricks or whatever. So my Albion interview, I got hammered. I took shots of Jaeger and I laid it all out there. I just like set it all to Albion, just to Steve Bancroft did my interview, and I ended up it was probably 2012. I still had the house, and I ended up calling him in England saying I had second thoughts. I just couldn't do it because I hadn't been able to face to face come out to certain people, and I didn't want them reading it in a magazine like Moeller, who's been paying me for my BMX pro life for years. I'd never had a chance to be real to him. I'd never had a chance to be real to certain other people that I didn't want them reading it in a magazine, because I wanted to tell them face to face first. Basically, that's why I couldn't put it out there in my Albion interview. And so I had him pull it. I had him not run everything that I said in the interview because I wasn't ready. And then it kind of took the house going away for me to be ready, because TJ was bugging me. TJ, I'm doing this hanging with labs thing. You should do it. It would be so good for people. It would be so awesome for people to know your story about about what you've been through and stuff like that. And a while goes by, and then finally he's doing his podcast, and he's just like, dude, you just do it. It's gonna be so good for so many people. And it really was. I had so many people just saying thanks. I haven't been able to be real with people, and I've been eating myself up, and it drives me crazy, and I've felt suicidal too. And for you to have courage to do that means so much. Thanks. And it's a big deal. It's important. If I it's too many people. I don't know. If I would have ended myself in 2006, nobody would have known why. And too many people go through that shit. Anyways, I should like this because
Matt, I gotta say, huge shout out to you, because you've been through so much. And when I first found out that you were gay, it was just one of those things where I was so proud that you were able to come out, and I didn't even know you. It was one of those things where I think it's important that people realize what you kind of go through and what you have been doing for years. And as much as it's weird to say this, but as much as it shouldn't matter, because you're an amazing guy at the end of the day, you're the awesome BMX rider, you're all this stuff, but it still matters. It's still important. And it's one of those things that by you coming out and telling everybody how your real life and the way that you really are, who Matt Beringer really is, you showed so many people out there how important it is to just, accept that that's who you are.
Well, I think that a big part of it is that everybody's in their situation of, you know, like I was just in a unique situation, and I ate myself up about a lot of stuff because I felt like me as a pro rider, I became something. I became somebody that I could do the dumbest shit, and everybody would still be psyched on and like it, and people liked me. And like for so many years, I was like, if you only knew, you wouldn't like me. You know, it's hard to have in my head. You know, if this person, especially the way people act about other people that are gay, I'm around them. I'm friends with them through BMX. But they'll be haters in certain ways, and I'm just like, well, I'm never going to tell you. You know, like, you hate this person, so you obviously would hate me if you knew. You know? And so many people go through that same kind of stuff in their head with any kind of people that are around. They're like, I can't be real to these people. I have to be who they want me to be because they love me for being who they want me to be. And they have to, like, keep themselves blocked off. You know, with lots of different situations, not just sexuality, lots of different things, you know, and I mean, shit, when the Barbecue 2006 happened and I'd been with Shane for, you know, like 6 months or whatever, like, I just wanted to like lay it all out there with all the pros and everybody there and just be like, hey, everybody, this is how it is, you know, but I just couldn't get myself to. Like, people loved me for being the goofy guy, you know, and I was straight. I was totally straight, you know. Nobody had a clue, you know. Like me and maybe somebody sometime somewhere, but like for the most part, I'm not gay. You know, I'm just not. I'm not. I'm doing a damn Endo grind. You know, like it's not a thing. You know, it's my business. And then when it's like finally got laid out all out there, and to be honest, like I think it did good for a lot of people with a lot of things. And I think I changed a lot of people that were haters too. They were like, oh, like you're not the stereotypical person that we thought everybody that was gay is. And it's like, well, what if I was? You know, like I've been around you. Like, you know me for my whole life. This is how it is. You know, this is how it is. This is who we are. Let's move on. Let's move forward. Let's all be happy in life and go from there. Life's a journey, you know. You have things that you can't tell people. Hopefully, you have, not hopefully. You have friends already that love you enough that you can tell them. You just don't think you can, but they do. And when you tell them, you feel better, you know. And they feel better, and they love you, and you're that much closer because you can be real, like. And if somebody else is real to you, you got to see it from their point of view and like, you know, like think about it, you know, like, I don't know, love them as much as they were when you loved them before you knew what you know about them being different than what you thought they were. There you go.
Yeah, man. Honestly, I think that, like you said, you did so much for the community just by coming out. Like, you know, there's got to be more than just you in the BMX world that's gay. Like, obviously, right? Like, you can't be the only person. And I think that you really helped open up to anybody else that, you know, maybe had those feelings that wasn't sure how to go about it.
There's people of every sexuality and every gender and everything that ride and that do everything. Like, people are people, you know, like there's plenty of gay people in BMX before me, and there'll be, you know, there is people now, and where they're at and how much they're known is a whole nother level of where anybody's at. And I don't know, like for everybody just to be like, okay, people are people. Like, I know you do a cool trick on your bike, you know, or you have a great personality. Like, I think it's a lot better these days too. I think that a lot of the people that, you know, would be against it, they don't know anybody. They're not around anybody that's that different from them to where they can be as accepting because they become ignorant to stereotypes. And they, you know, a lot of people that act, you know, you got to act like you don't like people that are different from you because you think that that's what everybody else is, you know, thinks is cool. And it's bullshit. People act that way worse just to try to not be gay or not be this or not be that. I don't know. Like, people are people. You don't know somebody, even if you don't know it. And they might be one of your best friends, and they might not be able to tell you. And you got to be cool enough that people can be real with you, and you can be real with them.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Unfortunately, there's still so many people out there that just don't understand that, for one, it's not a choice. Like, it's not something that, you one day decided, you know what, I don't like girls. I want to be with a man instead. That's just not what it is, and it's one of those things where, when I was growing up, my mom separated with my dad when I was so young, like 4 years old. I don't even remember really him around like when they were together, right? Like, my dad came to visit me all the time, but the guy that she ended up getting with afterwards, that she recently separated from, is just such a bigot and like just the worst human being, and like to the point on where I moved out so early because I just couldn't take it anymore. It was one of those things where like the things that he would say were just so ridiculous and outrageous, and it makes me feel so bad for him because he doesn't understand what the real life is. Like, he has been within an hour and a half radius of where he was born his entire life. He doesn't realize that outside of that, there's so much more, and that there's so many amazing people out there and so many amazing things that you could experience, right? And it's just one of those things where, like, I remember growing up and him telling me from like 4 years old until 13 when I moved out that if I was gay, he was going to disown me and he would never talk to me again. And I'm not gay. I've known that I'm not gay my entire life, and it shouldn't matter though. That's the thing where I was like, who gives a fuck? Like, if I was gay, what, you're not going to talk to me because like I like something different than you? Like, it doesn't affect you. It doesn't have anything to do with your life, like what I do, And it's just one of those things that I
think that I really, I really beat myself up for years in my head because it wasn't that like I was around a lot of people that were totally haters. It was just, in general, people would talk the shit that they talk about somebody that was gay in school or on TV, or, their idea of somebody that was gay. And like, I couldn't be, and the cases of people that are like that, it's sad. It's really sad that lots of people that are gay couldn't come out to their parents, like, especially in certain religions, because their parents just disown them. And they're just out, like, go, you're not my son anymore, basically. That happens a lot with, like, kids, like Mormon kids. If somebody comes out, their parents are just like, you're against everything, you're not my kid anymore, and they just disown them. And it's like horrible for suicide rate of kids that can't be real to their parents, that like all of a sudden aren't good enough for their parents just because something that they couldn't control, that was like in their head, that they couldn't fix with therapy or whatever their parents tried. And it's just like, luckily I had parents that were accepting and family that was accepting, but it's really horrible when people don't accept their own damn kid because it's against what they think everybody should be. It's not like it's not something that people want. It's something that people are born with.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I don't know. And just those like days that I was living there, it was just one of those things where like, I'm not gay, and like, but it still bothered me so much where I was like, how can you be so like ignorant and so stupid to not realize that it doesn't affect you?
What are they doing to you? Like, if I was, what would I be doing to you? How would it affect you? It don't even affect them.
Yeah, the one thing that I always hear from just stupid, ignorant people that like have those opinions is, oh, well, what if they want to have sex with me? And I'm like, take that as a fucking compliment, for one, because
don't flatter yourself. Huh?
Yeah, yeah. For one, I'm like, probably not, and it's not like, I don't know. It's just one of those things where Jesus,
stereotypes. Man. They're just labeling they're labeling everybody with every stereotype they've ever heard about it, anything. They automatically throw every bit of all those stereotypes onto one person, however they are, however much they even loved them before that, they throw all these stereotypes on them. It's bullshit.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. It's ridiculous, honestly.
And that's what I think. That's why I think I change a lot of people, because a lot of people that I come out to that I'm friends or family with, they've never known anybody that's gay, or then maybe they did, and it's somebody that I didn't know that they already are friends with. But a lot of people haven't known people that are gay, especially somebody that they know. They just think stereotypes, they think or who knows what they think. And I think that's why it drove me crazy for years. That's why I thought I'd end myself if everybody knew, is because I come up with all this shit in my head that I think that they think. Everybody I know. I come up with all the shit in my head that they would say to me, or that they think, that to where it drives me crazy. And a lot of people that I thought would be the shittiest and say the shittiest stuff were like the most coolest to me, because I finally was able to be real with them. They're like, the shittiest shit talkers, when you finally like step up and be that real to them, they got nothing to say. They can't give you shit. They have to respect that you had the balls to stand up for yourself and say, look, this is who I am. If you don't like it, get the hell away from me. Like, you are not my friend. And they couldn't say that themselves. They got to be fake. They got to talk shit. They got to, and I think a lot of people respected that somebody could be honest with themselves that much to say, fuck what you think. I'm who I am. I don't know.
No, man, I think
you got me rambling.
I think you make a really good point, honestly. Like everything that you said there, somebody's going to listen to this and they're going to feel so much better just about their situation, something that they're dealing with. I think that everything that you've said has really helped. Yeah.
Well, sorry to cut you off. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
But tomorrow's a good day. It's another day, but I don't know, like, be real, then I don't know what else to ramble about. Sorry to cut you off.
No, that's okay, man.
I just think that people need to have good friends, and people have better friends than they know. Sometimes you just gotta like get stuff off your chest that you didn't think you could. And I hope that me doing that helped anybody do that. And I know it's hard, and it's like some people suck. Some people that you thought were the most awesome people will be the shittiest people, and some people that you thought were the shittiest people will, be your best friend. You never know. It's an all new day. It's all in how you go, and I don't know. Be real. Get it out there. Like, be yourself. Live your life. Make it good. Do your thing.
Hell yeah, man. I think, when you came out back in 2018 on TJ's podcast, that must have done so much, honestly. Like, I feel like so many people probably really felt so much better about kind of coming out and feeling like they were, accepted by the world. And especially with you, because, you grew up in a time where I feel like it must have been not quite accepted yet. Like, really, if you look at it, in the past 20 years, it's really only been super heavily accepted in the last 15. Like, and even then, 15 years ago, it was still one of those things that, I don't know if it's just me, but I grew up in a small farm town. I literally didn't meet a gay person until I was close to 11, 12 years old. Like, and it's just one of those things where it shouldn't matter at all, right? Like, it sounds so weird and, it might sound rude, but it shouldn't matter what you do in your private life. Like, at least to me, that's kind of how I feel, where nobody should give a fuck about what happens in your private life.
Yeah, it's definitely gotten better. There'll always be the level of people that don't understand or don't, can't take it, or but it's like, it's a lot more acceptable. And like, these days, you never know. You know, it's funny. I was just thinking, like, on my Facebook memories, it's been geez, what year was it? I think it's been like 5-6 years, and I went to the Judas Priest concert. The Judas Priest concert on this day. Rob Halford, heavy metal guy, badass heavy metal. Imagine how it was for him to come out to heavy metal. You know, like, it must have been insane. You know, like, and then heavy metal accepted it, or like, I don't know, like lots of people you never would have thought. You know, it's like it just goes to show that people are people. You know, it's like do your thing, and it's a hard. It changes. It changes the outlook of stuff. You know, like I don't know, like Brian Anderson. You're going to talk about that in the question.
Yeah, so I will give you the question here. So in 2016, Vice made a 26-minute long documentary on Brian Anderson, a legend in the skateboard world, who decided to come out and tell the world that he was gay. When he did this, he was the first professional skateboarder to ever tell anybody that was gay, that he was gay. And did you feel like that story had kind of helped you at all? I feel like when that came out, you must have watched it right away to kind of see, you know, his side of things.
I never even saw it until after I came out. I never even saw it. I didn't know about him. Like, and he must, you know, it must have been. Well, I watched it, you know, like, and after I came out, because everybody started talking about how it was similar, and like. I put myself in a similar, you know, thinking of, you know, what he went through, the same shit. You know, you're with the team. You know, you're with the boys. You know, like, but it's not like I don't know. It's just like BMX is BMX. You know, it's like turned off when it's being around those guys. They're like my brothers. You know, like it's like turned off. Like, you know, I'm not going on a BMX film trip and trying to go off to a gay bar and meet up with some guy when I was back in my pro career. It was just turned off. It was something that I was there for BMX and to be around all my friends, and, you know, they're all looking for pussy, but I don't, you know, like that. I'm not gay. So I totally turned off all the way. Like it just didn't. But the shit that they say and the way they act, you know, it's like mental note as to like, if you only knew, you know, but like, fuck you. Like, I'm just going to sit back and not ever tell you about it. Cause you totally, but you know, it's a time and place, you know, I just kind of be the friend that was asexual. I don't want anybody, you know, like I don't want anybody. Like, oh no, you do your thing. Like, you know, like, I'm too drunk. I'm too crazy. I'm too stupid. I don't have a sexual preference. All right, we're on a BMX trip, and that's just turned off. You know, I never thought anything about any BMX friends. No, it's not at all. No, they're like my brothers. You know, I'd never thought that stuff.
Yeah, it's such a interesting thing that you even have to point that out, right? Because you shouldn't. It's one of those things where, like, you know, you clearly are able to, like, separate that part of your life. It's not like you're going on these trips thinking about these people that you're with. Like you said, they're your friends, they're your brothers. It's different. And my thing too is always like,
I don't think anybody ever thought that either. You know?
Yeah, I guarantee people didn't. Yeah.
And so it's like, I don't know, like BMX is BMX. And then when, you know, eventually when I don't have a BMX house and I live with my boyfriend at his condo in Salt Lake, and then my boyfriend moves here and we get my parents' old house eventually, like, you know, everybody's been friends for so many years. It's just the way it is. You know, nothing's weird. It's just the way it is. You know, like, people have got a lot more accepting because they know a lot more people that are like that. And it's just, you know, you make life what it is, and it's what it is, you know, like, you go through it, and maybe, I don't know, You know what it is you find somebody you love that can deal with your shit, and you can deal with their shit, and you get married. You find that person, you stick with them.
Absolutely. I got to pop the question at some point because the girl I'm with right now is awesome, and she deals with all of my shit constantly. There you
go. There you go. You know, that's love. That is love. Right
Absolutely.
There. You know, like when you finally find somebody that you can deal with their shit, that they can deal with your shit, you work well together, and that's who you need to be with for the rest of your life, for sure. You know, like whether it's man and man, or woman and woman, or man and woman, it's fine. It's fine. That's love. You know, like you're a team. You know, you're a team, and you work together, and you make stuff happen. And if you're straight, you're gonna have kids, and you're gonna be parents. You know, but us, we have 3 little dogs and a cat, and you know, like close relatives. We don't have kids, and it's not like, I don't know, we're both getting older. I'm 43, he's 51. But you just deal with the cards you're dealt. You know, that's life.
Absolutely,
basically. You just deal with your cards you're dealt.
I think something to point out here too is that, you know, everybody deserves to be in love. Like, I think that everybody deserves to have that feeling, right? And be with someone that makes them feel completely 100% comfortable with the person that they are, right? Like, I don't think it's fair to say, no, you can't date like a guy because you're a guy, or you can't date a girl because you're a girl. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me, right? Like, I know we've mentioned this a couple times now, but yeah, it's just one of those things where everybody deserves that opportunity, and I'm happy that you were able to find it, you know?
I never thought I would. I just thought I was messed up in the head. Never thought I'd be in relationships. Because I didn't have too many girlfriends, you know. I never like a solid boyfriend, but I've known since like high school. I was like in denial like since high school. It wasn't who I was. It wasn't, but it was always, you know, it was always something that was there, and it was just like, no, it's not. You know, it's not who I am. It's not who I am. Like all the time, but it's just not. It is who I am. I had to finally convince myself to be real with everybody, and it made life a hell of a lot easier. And the years I've had in my life are the best, you know, the best of years since I've been able to be real. You know, I always thought like life's going to end if anybody knows. No, life's not going to end if anybody knows. Life's going to keep going. And it's going to be better that you're real with, you know, and it's just another hurdle in life, just like anything else. You know, like when you, like, say you find out, so just real stuff that you can't change, you know, like you just go from there, you know, move on and find what it takes to be happy in life and roll with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So one of the things that I found awesome about you and Shane is that, and I don't know if this is true, but it was rumored that you actually made the wedding rings that you guys wear. Is that correct?
Yeah. I made our rings on the lathe right here, and that was like, geez, 2013 turned into 2014 New Year's. I just said, hey, do you want to get married? You know, like, hey, you want? And it was like right midnight when New Year's hit. I said, hey, do you want to get married? Because what happened in Utah was like there was some kind of like it's like the law slipped by, because gay marriage was illegal. It was illegal here. You couldn't legally get married to another man in Utah, and somehow it like slipped by where you could for a little bit. And if I wouldn't have proposed to him and him said yes, and like 2 days later we go to get our wedding license, and they say we're doing weddings downstairs in the city building by these people that are there, and they have a witness. If we would have waited a day, we would have had to wait like 6 months, because the state like immediately like turned it around where it was illegal to get married man to man, married, you know, 2 men couldn't get married until it like got like turned around and was a thing that was like all throughout the states that you were allowed to. So we, you know, that couple day window, we were some of the only ones that did it. And My family's pissed. They're like, "You wait, what?" Because they thought we were gonna have an actual like wedding or something, and we're like, "No, we went to get our wedding license and we got married that downstairs that day in the city building." And that was one of the funniest ways I ever came out to any of my friends. My buddy Tim. I called my buddy Tim up and I said, "Tim, what are you doing later?" "Oh, I don't know, nothing. I don't know." And I said, "I just got married. I just got married to my boyfriend, Jane. Like, and we're having a party tonight at the gay bar. You should show up." And Tim was he was so clueless. He thought I was fucking with him. He had to call Elf and Foz to see if I was really being real, because I had already like come out to those guys, and Tim had no idea. And like he was there, a bunch of friends were there that probably didn't know like that earlier that day, and it was like, "Hey, guess what, everybody? I got married today to my boyfriend, who's now my husband."
That's awesome, man. Honestly, like it's such an interesting way to tell everybody, but I think at that point it's kind of like, deal with it, you know? Like,
yeah, like you didn't have to tell me about your girlfriend before you got married either, you know. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you know. And people have been so supportive and awesome, you know. Like, I mean, we've been so many people that I've known for so many years, and a lot of people are just like, "Holy shit, I can't believe you!" Like, how must it have been when you couldn't tell anybody, you know? And it was different. It was something else. I don't know how I was like Mr. Undercover gay guy. Nobody knows anything like for so many years, but I don't know. It's a lot easier now, you know, now that everybody knows, and it's been years, and I'm glad I've been able to help a lot of people that have gone through some of the similar type stuff, or they're not, maybe not even that kind of stuff, like just to be real with somebody over something that they feel like they can't tell somebody else. Like, do it, you know, get it over with. Don't eat yourself up. You know, being real with people, it eventually happens, you know, like it's a lot easier, because bullshitting people, like, you got to be pretty damn good at it to keep it going forever.
that's the thing where I feel like it's got to be so difficult that it's not even worth it to tell people that you're straight when you're not, right? Like, you're almost better off just saying, "Hey, this is how I am, this is who I am," and you're just going to have to deal with it.
Some people never will. Some people never will be able to, and I'm glad that I finally could. Because, you know, there's people that'll go about their life forever and never be able to tell anybody their side of the story when it comes to stuff like that, because it's not real and it can't happen. You know, like people with families and stuff, they have their situation, and it would totally like devastate what they have going, and they'll never it will never be real. And a lot of times stuff like that comes to a screeching halt when somebody, you know, finds out something that somebody couldn't tell somebody because they couldn't be real. It's horrible. You know, it's just a lot easier. Like, if you're like, "This is who I am. I love you. You love," you know, you just, I don't know. There's just a million situations of every level of all that stuff.
Honestly, man, before we go forward, I just want to say, you know, huge respect to you, because like I said earlier, like it's such a insane thing that you had to deal with your whole life, right? Like just feeling like you weren't accepted or anything. And I truly believe that you made the right decision that day, that you went on TJ Lavin's show and just told the world, right? Like, it's such a hard decision to make, and you're not sure how people are going to really truly feel about it. But that day you made an important choice that was important for you and nobody else, right? It's important to think about how you feel in that situation. And you told the world that, you know, this is how I am, and you can either take it or leave it. I love that. So good on you, man.
Thanks. I think, I mean, I know it was one of the most important things I did. Like, I'd say the biggest thing I ever did for my life was to tell my parents, and for them to be cool with it. And like, you know, they were stunned, they were shocked, they had no idea. Like, and you know, they had to figure out how to, you know, they had no clue. They you know, they had to be like, "Okay, this is how it is," and that's how anybody I was friends with was. They were just like, "Oh, okay, that's how it is," you know, like, and it's not, my parents wanted grandkids, like it's not something that they wanted to hear, but it's that they're glad that I could be honest with them. And that's a big important thing in life, is because if you go through your whole life not being honest with people around you, you're not going to go through life being honest with yourself. And it's pretty rough, way to go.
Absolutely. So, I think, more than they wanted grandkids, they wanted you to be happy is the main point I want to make.
I think so too. And, I love my mom, and I really miss my dad. And, it's just, thanks everybody for, not being, because I feel like I was pretty well accepted as to people are like, okay, thanks for, being yourself. I felt like I was very well accepted, and I wish I could have done it earlier in my career, but it wasn't time yet. And, when it was time, it was time. And anybody that's going through the same stuff, maybe they can't, they can't have it be their time yet, but when it's time, it'll happen. And as for me, I was out of the limelight. I wasn't pro anymore. That wasn't my income anymore. I kind of waited until real life finally hit to be like, okay, this is how it is. I mean, geez, because me and Shane have been together since 2006. So I don't know however many years before that, wow, 8, geez, before I finally was did the podcast with TJ and stuff. And a lot, different times it happened, where I would come out. We did the Odyssey trip to Palm Springs, and everybody's just drinking and sitting around this little fire telling crazy stories, and I just said, hey, everybody, this is how it is. Or we were filming, for 50/50 video, and I come out to a bunch of my friends on the mini ramp sitting there drinking after we'd already been talking about old times and life and stuff, and I just said, hey, that's how it is. And who knows what year that was. And so I don't know, it was just so much easier after that. I didn't have to be some dude that couldn't be real with people. We're real, so we're way better friends. And, it was way better relationship with anybody that I come out to. And it was a gradual thing. Because I always pictured it in my head as to where, it's going to just blow up and be, I'm going to be out there, everybody all of a sudden, when I did it, when I come out on TJ's podcast. It's that's going to happen, but with everybody. And that happens to, most everybody, but not really, it was a gradual thing, and the people that I come out to before I come out on that podcast, we're great friends because we could be real with each other. And I don't know, not everything's everybody's business, and it's, not everybody knows everybody everybody knows everybody on Instagram or Facebook, So I guess that's kind of just sums that up, I don't care who has what girlfriend or boyfriend, they shouldn't care about me just because I can do a cool trick on a bike.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think, it must have been such a awesome thing for those guys at Odyssey or, the 50/50 video that you guys made, just to be hanging out with you and just for them to hear kind of a different aspect of your life, right? I'm sure everybody took it really well.
Something they never thought they would have heard, Hey, yeah, well, this is how this is, finally just be able to step up and be real. There were a lot of people were stunned, they were just oh, I didn't see that coming. I didn't expect you were going to say that. But it was just they're thanks for getting past that hurdle, and it was, they respected me a lot for it. And I respected that they respected me a lot for it, And like anybody that's told me anything that's been bugging them or that they've gone through that they couldn't talk about, you know, it's just like you just get past it because that's life.
Absolutely. Yeah, man, honestly, it's so good hearing about that. That is such a awesome story to really just sit and listen to. And honestly, as you're saying all this, I'm kind of imagining how everything kind of went in my head here. And yeah, man, honestly, I'm so happy that we have somebody like you in the BMX world that was willing to really tell people how it is, right? At least for like your life and whatnot. I think that's important. I feel that, like you said, you know, everybody's got this different life online. And, you know, for somebody like myself who's never actually met you before, like, had I not known that, that would have been definitely a shocker because, you know, it sounds awful, but you're not a stereotypical gay guy. Like, you're just not at all. When you think about that, like, not to think about stereotypes because they're all wrong, realistically, like, it's just not how people are. But
I just, like, for years, for so many years, I wanted to write a book and call it Louder Than Stereotype, you know, like, because that's just what people go off when they put labels on people, or that label comes out that it's put on you, you know, like, or whatever, you know, that's like people go off of every stereotype they've ever heard and like what they think of it. And it's, you know, everybody's where they're at in life. Everybody's their level of anything in life. Everybody loves who they love. Everybody is who they are. You know, and there's like the accepted amount of like who people are. There's the rules, you know, and it's like I have a husband. This is nothing new. There's not, you know, there's been gay people for all of ever, you know, like, you know, and it's so much better these days that it's more accepted. And there's so many more people that you would have had no idea, you know, and it's like Doogie Howser, you know, like, or like so many people that have come out, you know, like, it's just like, okay, well, that's none of my business, and I like them for who they are, who I know what they've done. Like, sexuality is such a like small part of anybody's life compared to who they really are and who they are as a person. Like, it's not an issue. It's not a thing.
yeah,
Like, you know, like, I don't care who's with who, and they shouldn't care who I'm with, basically. And it's good to talk about it, you know. It's good to put stuff out there because there's too many people that go off of stereotypes all too much. And it's like sometimes somebody just needs to get that, like, you know, reality check that not everybody is the same. You know, it's like you know, Edward Scissorhands, man. You know, all those houses are exactly perfect. Perfect family, perfect family, perfect family, and somebody new and different comes in that they all love for some reason, and then he's not who, you know, they think that he needs to be, and then they send him back off, and it's just a sad tale of all too many times happening in real life with real situations. That's kind of an artsy, crazy example of that not everybody's always normal, and you might love stuff about them. That's not what you think is everybody going to be, you know? All right.
I think
it's good to ramble on about all this shit. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, I'm happy to supply a platform for it, you know? Yeah, I really wanted to touch on some of the amazing video parts you've put out there. So you had mentioned there talking about the 50/50 crew and whatnot, and 50/50 released a video called That's It, and it was incredible. It was such a great video, and your part honestly really shows your personality. Like, when I watch that part, I really get the sense of who you are with that video part. There's so many like different tricks in there, and just the whole way that you went about it was so like it sounds weird, but it was so like not serious in a way where it was all about the fun, right?
Yeah, good fun, good times. That's all I can think when I think about that. You know, that part of my life, those times, that era, like, geez, good fun, good times. You know, that was the end of before I come out to certain people. I can see some of those clips and think like, this is around the same time. You know, like people didn't really know me. My best friends didn't know me, but it was still like the good times. BMX always like takes everything that's reality, everything that's like normal real life. It takes it, and you're all on the same level of trying to film, having a good time, and trying to have fun on your bike, and trying to have goals, and trying to do something awesome, and that's all our common bond. You know, like, it's all our common bond of, like, you put yourself in that guy's shoes of, like, what it takes to do the dumb thing they did for the camera, and how many tries it took, and how much fun they had, and all the people saying yeah, and the laughs and the good times and the hardcore goals, you know, like the things that somebody steps up to for footage that they've been looking at it for a long time and they finally got it over with. Like the last, you know, that triangle grind thing I was looking at for years and years. Like, or like some, you just see the scene, you know, maybe it's something that's a playful session on a stupid ledge and this fun trick came out of it, you know, and you like feel the feeling of what it was like to be there at that session. And that session only happened because the certain people were around each other and having a good time, you know, or solo self goals or whatever. Like, and you just get a good feel for it and get a good song for it to go to and put it back to back to back to back. And that's a video.
Absolutely. You know, I've filmed a couple full lengths and it's definitely the same thing, right? Like it's all about just the good times and seeing somebody push themselves. For me as a filmer, it was always something where I love to watch the progression of BMX and I love to watch people struggle with something and come out, you know, victorious and feel so good about doing something new that they've never done before. Just getting a clip that, you know, is fun and looks good. And in this video part, you know, we're just watching it right now, and the clip that's going by is you jumping over the entire shed into the other side. And I feel like that's such a crazy gap that, like, nobody's done other than you, I feel.
The first time I land super flat.
Yeah, it is wild.
Man, that was like that day. The two hip guys were doing a show in Brigham. And Ron Wilkerson came to the house. Ron Wilkerson was there. And I jumped over the shed. It was just like, throw it down. Like, oh man, what a great time. Like, just the whole, it brings back, it's like watching old home videos or something when I watch old video parts and clips and stuff. Because, like, just the situation and who was around and who filmed it and what time of season it was and who was living at the house at the time or who was in town or like who you got stoked to be around or what happened at the party after or, you know, like, oh, it's great stuff.
Dude, I love the trampoline in the ground. We just watched some of the footage of you like riding it and it's such an interesting thing, you know, like it's just so cool to have a trampoline like dug into the ground. You did a front flip off of one, which was incredible. But here's your ender with you doing the pegs grind off of a roof on that triangle thing. And I had written a question about that, so we'll do that first. Yeah, that one was incredible, man. Like, just the way that you pulled that was so gnarly. And what I love is that it ended up being a cover, I believe, of a 2005 April Ride BMX, right?
Yeah, my interview. That ended up being a cover of Ride. That was such a big deal for me to get the cover of Ride. Was such a big deal.
Yeah,
and like that triangle, like, because I got the house in Layton, and then it was when Aiken was living with me at first, and we were filming stuff for Props Utah Scene Report, and Aiken had the idea of grinding down it. And years went by before I did it. Like, and Mike didn't use pegs anymore or live at the house anymore. So it was like, okay. And I would still go look at it. I looked at it for years. Like, yeah, Mike had the idea that somebody could grind down that. And finally, like, I'm getting my ride interview, and I got to step up to it. And Jeff Z's in town, and I'm just like, shit, holy shit, you know, like, and I climbed up on the roof, and I sit up there on the roof with my bike, and I finally, like, I had to like walk up that, I had to shimmy up that thing on my sides of my feet and my hands like this, and then they hand me my bike up there, and then I'm up there for like 15 minutes. Like, I'm just like I can't make myself go, and it's like threatening rain, and I'm just like, part of me is like, please rain so I don't have to do this. It's like, because I'd wanted to do it for so many years, and like, it was just a thing that just snapped in my head. Like, so I'm up there, and I'm just like, and I've been picturing it for years, and everything that I always pictured in my head, I always just pictured what could go wrong. Like, for years and years, the only thing I could picture was what could go wrong. Like, I never actually like pictured in my head like what it was going to feel like to be like grinding on that thing after dropping off that roof and go down the whole thing until I actually stepped off and did it. I never pictured what it would feel like, and never pictured doing, like, in my head, I never pictured myself actually going down it and doing it until it happened. And so I'm up there for like 15 minutes, just like, fuck, just go, fuck, you know, like, just step on and go. It's right there. And there's some high school girl that was sitting a little ways away. And finally she gets sick of me being on the roof saying, fuck, just telling myself to go. She's just like, just go, just do it. And that's what I was just like, well, you only fucking live once, man. Fuck this shit. And I stepped on and went. And I'm so glad it worked first try. Holy shit. It was either do or die. I was either going to get destroyed or I wasn't climbing down. I was either going to get destroyed or do it. And somehow I mean, my foot kind of got off the pedal, but I didn't put a foot down. I did it good enough to be legit. And so I was like, I'm never climbing back up on that damn thing again ever. Like, oh, like, thank you. You know, like, so that was an epic moment of just life for me right there. Like, something that, get it over with. That was, and then never crawl up in that thing again. And you can see it from the freeway, and I flip it off every time I drive past it on the freeway. Fuck you. I don't have to climb up on you anymore.
I love it, man. It's such a crazy last trick, you know? Like, everybody has that one trick that they've pulled that, you know, is so iconic to them. For me, was this huge rail hop that I did that, honestly, I should not have done it. It was just so gnarly, and I pulled it first try, but it was one of those things that, like, I spent months staring at this fucking thing, like, just not sure if I was ever even going to try it, right? And I'm happy I did it, but at the same time, I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude, like, I should have been more careful with that because I could have got seriously fucked up. But at the same time, like, it's BMX, man. That's what we live for. We do shit like this because we want to, and it's part of our blood, right? Like, after we ride for a certain amount of time, I feel like everybody's got that crazy thing that they just know they have to do, you know?
Yeah, you see it, and you just can't stop thinking about it, you know? Now that I'm older, well, even back in, you know, even through the years, you know, I'm good at spotting stuff because I was always looking for something to do. I'm good at spotting stuff. I'm good at spotting stuff for other people. You know, people that can hop higher than me or are a lot more daring in the moment than me right now. I'm just like, here you go. That's got your name on it, you know? And I still have to, it's just always going to be in my head. I still have to find stuff that has my name on it. Like 2 days ago, we got to ride an empty pool, and I start doing ice picks on this little stair that's sticking out. And I get it in my head, like, okay, I can ice to fakie this thing. So I go up in to get into a solid ice to try to think about going fakie, and I slipped out and I fell to the bottom. And I landed on my back, and I got all the skin off my elbow.
Oh, nice.
And like I rocked myself, and I still rode a little bit, but I was rocked. I got my back so good, but it's still just like, it just goes back to that thing in your head of like jumping off a board on some 2x4s when you're a little kid. There's just the glory of it where you're just like, yes, I can do this. I have to now. Like, and you pay the price on some stuff, or some stuff's glorious. It's just a matter of like wanting to do it and that daredevil inside you, and having your eye for it and having something with your name on it because that's something you want to do. And it's just like everything, like you start progressing, you're like me, I start progressing in jumping, and I want to do Superman's like Chris Bennett. I want to do Superman's like Chris Bennett. He does the best Superman. It looks so awesome. Like, he is like my idol. Or like, I want to pegs tricks on a mini ramp like Keith Trainer on BMX Inferno. Or like, I want to jump the, I want to like, you want to be able to truck because Fuzzy can truck. Or I want to be able to do a damn turn down like Mike, but I can't. Or like, you just get motivated by the people that are getting theirs, and so you want to get yours. It's just like anything with, skills or goals in life or inspiration with anything. Like you see people pick their battles and win, and it makes you pick your battles and try to win. And win or lose, you go on to the next.
Absolutely. Something that's so crazy too is when you look at like, Utah or even just Salt Lake, the amount of pros or like big names in BMX that are around there is just so wild, right? Like you got Fuzzy Hall, Tate Riskelly, and then also Mike Aiken and like some other guys too, man. Like, it seems like there's just such a great scene there.
It's a good mix of, like, I had it good with being around. Fuzzin's a couple years older than me, and Elf's around the same age as me. Mike's however many years younger. We'd had such a great crew of people that were coming up in the scene at the same time. But the thing about our scene is like nobody's really that similar to each other. So we all pick different stuff for each other, and it's not like we're on the same level, but we're finding stuff for each other, and we root each other on where whoever's at their level is at. It's not like, Mike's trying to do double bar spins when me and Fuzzy are, and it's not like I'm trying to, get in on the crooked game as much as Elf, and it's not like, but everybody's like there for the other person, and they're proud of them for fighting their battles and winning. So we had a really good scene with that. A really diverse crew, especially, people like Tate, he's going to come up with stuff you would have never thought, People like Mike, he's going to do better style than anybody you ever seen, And Fuzzy's just an OG that's been doing it since the 80s, and like Cam's doing wild stuff. It's such a great scene. Like Rob Wise can hop higher than everybody because he goes to the gym. Or like you pick stuff for that person, or like natural skill, or crazy amount of fearlessness. Like Dave Thompson, like just fearless, but so good, such skill. Like and just a great crew of that, where everybody's out for each other, and like it's great times. And when it comes to doing trips or sessions, it's all about people in somewhat of a like-minded atmosphere where everybody's all about it. It was such great times. And I just try to, I never want to give that up. I never want to get rid of that. Having something here or meeting up with anybody at the trails or street, like, is as rare as it is anymore. Like, it's just, I just always want to have a part of that. I never want to, like, as much as I'm not pro anymore, it's just who I am. It's just, I just still am always going to want that. Like, I'm never going to picture life not being like that. I'm never going to picture it. I can't picture not having a sweet bike setup. I can't picture not having a sweet ski bike setup. I can't picture not having ramps and jumps and people over to have a good time. I can't picture not meeting up with people to go street ride every once in a while. But the older I get, it's like my goals change. You pick your battles different. Like, but here or there, along comes Mr. Goal in your head where you got to, like, try something stupid that you might get hurt over. And, like, that's stupid ice pick in the pool. Like, I ate shit and it sucks, and I went to work yesterday and I was hating life all day, and today I told them my back's hurt, I can't make it in because I'm thrashed, because my elbow was thrashed and I can't do what I need to do at work. And they're cool with it because I make an effort to do a good job at work anyways when I am there. So they're like, okay, you're not going to be in today then. That's how it is. So I got a good, it's a good deal with that. And, like, I can't say I'm not going to hurt myself again, guys, because I'll find something dumb to go for it. Because if I do it, if I do pull it, I'm going to be psyched, and I'm going to show you guys at work tomorrow. That's just who I am. It's just how I can't stop. I still got to try to be the same little kid I was when I was 7, like jumping a jump or winning a race. Like, it's just in me. I just can't stop doing it. Like, it's like just the greatest times of life, and I just can't see myself not wanting to do that.
Well, it's such a big part of who you are, right? Like, you've literally rode BMX since you were 7. Like, that's such a long time when you really think about it, right? Like, that is a huge portion of your life. And for me, like, I'm only 24, but I've been riding for over half my life now, which is, like, crazy to think about, right? I didn't start taking it seriously until about 10 years ago, but still, like, I remember being 7 years old and building little jumps out of, just like the Crandall FBM things, right? Where it's a cinder block and a piece of wood. Like, such an iconic thing for BMX, because I think everybody that rides BMX has had that experience of, like, the cinder block with a piece of wood.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, like, and, like, it depends who you're around too. It depends who's motivated and who you motivate to want to be a little daredevil stunt guy on stuff. It's a lot of fun, and it's a great form of expression. It's a great way to, like, release aggression or whatever, like, and go for it. You turn off the real world and you're with basically a little kid's toy. Like, I'm 43 years old and I have this two-wheeled thing that 99.999% of people in the world think is a little kid's toy. And that's what people need to realize when they start taking it themselves too serious, is that's what most people think it is, even though it's your life. Like, well, this little kid's toy can take you around the world and it can change your life for the better, or, like, it can take you out. It can make, you mess with the bull, you get the horn sometimes. Like,
Absolutely.
It's a great scene because there's a lot of like-minded people, and it's an evolving thing too. And I've always loved it because it's not like team sports. Like, you can do what you want. You can go film stuff for hours, like stuff that takes a million tries, like Tate does, or like I do. Like, it's a form of expression, and you don't have to go by the rules of the game. You know, you don't have to, you know, feeble to hard 185 more stairs than the last guy. You can like ass slide the same rail or what, you know, like it's just gotta be something you want to do, and it's just entertaining to watch because everybody's like cheering on everybody else for knowing where they're coming from and what level they're at, and they're psyched for each other. It's just a great big game, and it's fun as hell.
Absolutely. And I feel like a lot of those people that kind of go on their own path and make their own, you know, BMX tricks and their own style, they end up becoming kind of more like respected in the scene, right? Like some of the biggest pros in the world are you, Tate Riskelly, Mike Mastroni, like, you know, Montana Ricky is huge online. And it's just one of those things where like, none of you guys ride like anybody else. You all have your own unique style, and people know you guys for that.
It's just a matter of having fun. It's just the scene you're in, and like how much fun you want to have, and how you put it out there how you want to. And now it's such an all day, everyday thing with social media, or like how much you're going to put into something real, like a video part, or like, you know, who you're around or where you're at with it, or who you get inspired by, you know, who you see doing what, that you want to do what, you know, you get inspired to do something fun, or you start looking at stuff differently because you see somebody else that looked at stuff differently. Right? And that's the progression of it all. Like, and I mean, the level of everything's insane now. Like, I can't believe some of the stuff I see people do now. Like 360 double whip to double bar. What else? I mean, like just what like flip whip to double bar. They're just doing the most ridiculous stuff in jumping now, because that's where I got my start, was jumping contest tricks. But then it's like people like Tate and Mastroni that search the ends of the earth or set up weird things that take a lot of tries, because that's, you know, what they're people like Tate. Tate's not going to tell whip a 25-foot double. You know, it's not his style. He's got his style, you know, and the people that triple whip big doubles respect Tate, that he went and did his own thing. It's like more artistic versus sport, I guess. There's levels of everything. You know, there's the sport part of it where it's like go to contests, add another decade or another whip into something, or like just the levels got so big, this huge shit, or like find something with your name on it that nobody would have ever seen, you know. And the jumping contest, you're limited to the jumps you get and that setup. But when it comes to filming street, or like coming up with different stuff like Tate would, or like goofy shit like I would, like you might look at it for years. It's not your time to shine. You might, you know, it might haunt you. But if, you know, you overcome it, and shit, you might have to go back a bunch of times. You know, it might not just be easy. And that's the fun thing about it. That's the funny shit to me, is like, I would come up with something dumb to do that takes 1 million tries. And after I'm on like 500,000 tries, I'm like, holy shit, this is so stupid. What am I thinking? Why did I even think of this? Like, it's taken me 500,000 tries. Why did I even try to do this? And if you got somebody that is backing you up and will film you 1 million times, you'll keep going for that other 500,000 and get it done. Yeah, they're going to be behind you because they know what it's like to have to get it done with, because you just can't give up. You know, especially after a certain amount of tries. You just can't stop now, even though it's stupid as hell. Sometimes you already started, so you might as well finish.
Hell yeah, man. Such a great point, honestly. This has been incredible, Matt. I got to say a huge thank you for everything, you know?
For sure. It's been good talking to you. I never even met you before.
Yeah, this is awesome, man. This has been incredible. Dude, there's so many other things I want to talk about, but we've already been at this for quite a while now. How are you feeling? Do you want to keep going, or do you want to end it up soon?
I probably should go in and eat pretty soon. But,
Okay.
I don't know. I guess I could just talk about what's going on lately.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hear about what you've been up to, and then after that, I got some fan questions sent in from the wonderful fans of the Goat Cave, and also the fans of you.
That's cool. Sure.
Yeah. So first of all, let's hear about what's going on with you, Matt. What have you been up to the last little while?
I mean, everything with COVID is kind of like not be around, not have a bunch of people over, but I've had some sessions with some friends lately, like Road Street a couple times with a couple friends, like Tristan Cooper, Nick Fletcher, and Brady Bessinger, and Skylar Pingree. And, we all met up and found some different spots that are pretty cool that we're going to be able to film some stuff on. So that was cool. We're kind of, everybody meets up, everybody different cars, everybody keep their distance, but we found some cool stuff. And then Tate came up the other day and we got to ride that awesome pool. So it's been sick the last couple of days that, besides crashing and getting hurt, I'm not like wrecked or anything, but I'm not 100% either. But lately, besides that, it's this kind of like the changing of seasons. We're kind of, getting ready for the snow to happen. It's about that time to where we're kind of, there hasn't been yard sessions and like just shutting down different things for the season. And so that's got me back into the shop a little bit because I've become obsessed with the yard. And so the shop just becomes a mess of stuff that is kind of like trickles in here from working on the yard. And there's a lot of stuff that I've been avoiding in here, which I've been getting in on lately. And hopefully sooner than later, got a whole bunch of sets of bar tabs I'm going to drop on the Arbach BMX Big Cartel. I just got to finish up some guts for those. I have a couple wedding rings to make for some people. I have a couple things to machine in here, and now that it's getting now that it's getting dark earlier, I'm in here a lot more. So I went down to Salt Lake and got some packaging for some bar tabs. I've got a couple things ready. I have a couple things that'll be ready like within the next week or two. And so I'll be selling some bar tabs. I'll be back into the mix of trying to sell stuff that I make in here and hopefully make it up to Park City Woodward. And, depending on COVID and what shutdowns are and what we can do, that'll be a place to be riding indoors. And I'm really grateful that they're up there. Thanks to everybody involved with making that place happen. And, just doing some shop stuff. And here comes winter, and we'll see what the ski resorts are like with wintertime and doing some ski biking. And with COVID and restrictions, my buddy Brady Bessinger, he's been helping me in here, and I'm teaching him how to use the machines, and he's been awesome help. So he'll be helping me with making bar tabs this season, and we'll be ski biking a bunch up there with Nick Fletcher. So we'll be up at Nordic Valley and Basin with those guys and doing some ski biking. And time flies when you're getting older, it's already almost Thanksgiving. It just barely was Halloween, and then it'll be Christmas, and then winter's ski biking season and bar tab making season. And the next thing you know, it'll be another year of springtime and BMX, and the yard's pretty much finally done for the first time in the 6 years we've been working on it. And I don't know. That's about the random everything. Works all right, like everything's good with that. And I don't know, like pretty much just rolling with how it goes. And I'm psyched that you had me do this interview. And I don't know, whatever other questions you want, shoot at it. Go for it.
Hell yeah, man. So first of all, I just want to say, huge thank you again. But anyways, I gotta know, are you still running the 2 brakes, 1 lever setup? Because as everybody that's listened to the show before knows, I actually have a
I saw that.
I have a Primo Pervert setup with 1 lever, and I love it. It is so great. And I have mine set up so that both of them grab at the exact same time. I know that in a past interview, you had said that you just used barrel adjusters for yours to fix it so that either you would use back brake or front brake, but you couldn't ever use both at the same time.
Right when I first set it up, it was like both of them would lock at the same time. Like when I was riding the indoor park that's gone now, We Are One's no longer there, but that was probably like 2013 when I lived down at Shane's condo with Shane in Salt Lake, it was only a couple miles from the indoor park when it was like, going off. And so I made that setup out of the Pervert, the same way you got it. Because I get sick of that other lever, because when I didn't use front brakes, like I did so much more bar spin tricks. I was all about bar spin tricks. But now that there's another lever, it's just so much harder. And I can't bitch about how hard it is because Nyquist has 2 levers and he's super good at it. So I wanted 1 lever and I ran it for a little bit, and it was probably 2014 because we lived up here, and my bike got stolen out of the front garage, and whoever stole my bike just couldn't deal with it, and they just took the front brake part out of it and threw the front brakes away. And I ended up, through social media and people knowing different people, I met these kids at the park that knew who had my bike, and they got it back for me, and nobody got in trouble, and it was all good. But I got my bike back, but it didn't have the front brakes on anymore. So after that, I just didn't set it up again. It was just too much to deal with, too much. And I was just like, okay, just put the other lever back on, and it was fun for a lot of stuff. Like, but it was like that. Like if I would do a front brake trick and then I would go to manual or something, I would have had to like make my front, I would have had to make my front brakes good enough to do the front brake trick. So then I'd go to do a manual and I'd go to pull my brakes, which is of course cheating for all the brake listeners, but I would loop out and eat shit. But like when I did use my back brakes and go to do a front brake trick, I just wouldn't have them there. So it's a props to you for doing what it takes to be technically good at brakes enough to have them both good at the same time, because it's a bitch. It's definitely a bitch.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm fucking around with it every session. Like right before I start riding, I'm constantly sitting there trying to make sure it works,
It's just that much lighter, though. You don't have that other lever that you have to deal with.
Yeah, for me, it's the same thing, right? Where like I love doing T-bogs and I love doing tricks with that one hand coming off. But anytime that I have a lever, like I lost tuck no handers, which was one of my favorite tricks back in the day. But because I run a brake lever, every single time I'll go and grab my bar and I end up grabbing the lever and just eating it, or like fucking up my lever. And I just kind of gave up on tucks, and I should learn them again because it's such a great trick. But yeah, having those brakes, man, can be kind of a pain. So when I put on fronts, I was like, well, I want my rears because I've been running those for years, and I don't want to have to put a new lever on.
Yeah, it's like I hardly do bar spins anymore because of it. And I used to be all about bar spins like crazy. But it's like right as soon as I take my front brakes off, that the first time I touch my bike, in the first session I ever touch my bike, I'm gonna want to do a front brake trick. That's the first trick I'm gonna want to do. I just kind of make myself keep everything on, all the pegs too, because once you take something off, it's so hard to make yourself put everything back on.
Yeah,
you get used to how much lighter it is without front brakes. And then, even if you can go for a while, I don't know, I need to mix it up here or there, but it's a yearly thing now with the ski bikes. It's like, okay, people think I'm scared for having brakes. They should come try ski bike, and you got no brakes there. You're gonna go a lot faster.
Yeah, the ski bikes are incredible, man. Those things are just wild. I have to get a setup. I've been wanting one for years, and I just never end up getting one, but they're so wild. I love it.
It makes winter a lot better. It's a lot. I mean, tires are played. You go so slow with tires. There's an actual scene. It's not underground.
I love it.
That's where Drifter Dave, R.I.P. Drifter Dave, man. Like, Drifter Dave started his thing. He was a ski bike OG for years and years, and Drifter Dave hooked me up with Drifter ski bikes, and like, man, it was I did my mods, and like, but he got a thing going with the team, the Drifter ski bikes thing. He really like got people to do a thing with the team, and he started a company and made a badass ski bike, and like really brought us all together, like, all the drifter guys that, drifter for life, man. We did the best, like Dustin and Maverick, and like, man, but like, if you could find the Hoodoo Drifter video, like, you're from Toronto, do you know those guys?
So I have never met Drifter Dave, but I've heard so many stories about him, and it was one of those things that when he went missing and then passed away, it honestly was really upsetting, just because like I had known so much about him, right? And Chris Silva, big friend of the show, he's never come on the show, but he's a listener every week, and huge props to Silva, but he was a really good friend of Drifters, right? And in the newest ICC video, they actually have a whole section after the video dedicated to Drifter Dave, and yeah, it was just so unfortunate, right? And unfortunately, we've seen a couple of those unusual passings of different BMX riders, right? Like we saw Drifter Dave, and then I cannot believe I'm forgetting his name. I feel so bad about this, but there was a Bone Death rider who went missing. I guess that he had some head trauma injuries that literally just led him to kind of go crazy in his own head, and he ended up being missing for a couple of years, I believe. Do you remember his name? I kind of forget.
Oh,
I feel so bad.
Oh shit! Who was that? Oh, I can't think either, and I feel bad too. He was missing for a couple years.
He was a big time like dude, like he was part of the Bone Death team. He was not like just some underground dude. Like, I just feel so bad about it. I'm like, I should know his name, and if it was literally any other time, I'm like, this always happens when I'm recording where I'm just thinking about too much stuff, right? But yeah, I'll try and find some footage of him and put it up on screen right now. But
I know who you're talking about. I can't either. And he was missing for a while.
Couple of years.
Yeah, and it was a couple of years ago too. Oh man, yeah, shit, I can't think too. Yeah, it's like, life's short, man. Like, then you never know what's gonna happen. Chicken in could be. Oh man, yes, but it like. Anyways, like, yeah, it's like, Dave started that thing, and like, I don't know, we all got together for the ski bike jam before the apocalypse happened. So I don't know, this year is another year. That stuff's underground. Like, it's an expensive hobby. It's an expensive hobby, and it's a thing that's hard to get in on by yourself. Like when it comes to ski biking. Oh, now it's driving me crazy trying to think of that other guy's name.
I know. I feel like it's Brian something, but I don't think it is. I'm gonna have to find it. I'm gonna try and do that right now. But yeah, continue.
But yeah, it's like as for Drifter Dave, like I would talk to him on the phone for like an hour. I never actually met him, but he was just such an awesome dude on the phone forever. Like, just, I think he was a couple years older than me or around the same age as me, and we're just from the same era of liking the same type of stuff and get in on riding at the same type of era, and back in the day, I made my own ski bike setups, and back in the day, he made his own ski bike setups. But the only thing is, he put it in to do an actual company and put it out there and get a team and get us to meet up and film. And he started a real. It's almost like a biker gang. We're like an underground biker gang, and it's good people can get them, but it's not like a cheap, easy thing to get into, but if you want to do it, you're gonna do it. And it's good that people are able to, because all the people that ski bike anyways, they're all like downhill mountain bike style, and mad props to those guys because they're nuts, but they're not hardcore BMX. They don't know anything about it, and they're all rad dudes, but like, for there to be a hardcore BMX underground scene of, the drifter guys and Cam and Greg doing Outlaw Union, for anybody to be able to do it without having a shop of their own and making a ghetto prototype, and mad props to anybody that does that too, but for anybody to be able to buy anything that's hardcore BMX and ski biking, it's like, there's not much out there, and it makes winter a hell of a lot better. So rest in peace, Dave. And man, it makes winter a hell of a lot better. And it's another story too. It's like, there's not a scene, there's not what's cool enough. It's all cool. And as for me and trying tricks, it's hard to even have a camera up there, and I'm in it for the speed. Like, I have a speed tracker thing on my phone, and I got 56.5 miles per hour is my high score. And I want 60 miles an hour so bad. And I know that the downhiller mountain bike style guys, they got way higher than that. But as for me, personal goal, before I die, I would love to hit 60 miles an hour, because it's such a rush. There's your edges for tires, and you see the hill go, and it mellows out eventually, and you just streak on it. It's way faster than I've ever gone on my BMX without brakes, and you kick sideways or you get away from the thing.
Yeah. I feel like those things are so wild, man. Honestly, I do love to watch those drifter videos, and like
it's just like snowboarding, but you're on a bike, but all of a sudden you're sideways, when you're trying to slow down, you're riding a bike sideways, basically, and I love it. I love the scene. I love our little crew. It's awesome. The trip that me and Nick Brady did to meet up with the drifter guys to Oregon was one of the best trips ever, for sure.
All right, so I looked up his name, and it's Brian Histand, I believe. That's probably right. Butchering it. But yeah, it was Yeah,
that's what man, what year was it that he went missing? It's probably been like 2013 or so.
You're exactly right. 2013, he went missing, and 3 years later, they found the remains of his body. And from what I read beforehand, he had suffered a few traumatic head injuries that had led to some CTE, kind of like, CTE-esque symptoms where, you kind of just lose your mind slowly as you live your days. And it was one of those things where, continue.
He was legendary too, Brian Histand. We were around him at Texas Toast, he was at Texas Toast, and because I was around him a bit. That's right, man. Yeah, he was unreal, man. I can't believe that I couldn't think of his name because he was so unreal. Like, and we were around him at the after party at Toast. Damn, he killed it so much, man. Rest in peace, Brian Histan, man. He definitely killed it. I remember being around him at the after party after Toast. Yeah, and he was missing for 3 years. He was missing.
Yeah, I guess that the story goes that about a week before he went missing, he was found trying to pick up trash, like naked, apparently. Which, you know, if you go through some of these traumatic head injuries, it'll make you do crazy things like that, right? And I guess that the last thing that they found before he was found was his car, you know, just parked on the side of the highway. And ever since then, he was missing, and they found his remains 3 years later. So unfortunate, you know, so scary to think about that happened in our industry. And that has stuck with me since the day that I had found out that he had went missing, right? Like, even then, I was such a young kid compared to who I am now, but it was still one of those things that really meant a lot to me. Was like, wow, man, this is so unfortunate. You know, it's such a loss for the community.
Yeah, it was such a badass. He was such a rad dude. And I don't think they ever found Drifter Dave's remains.
They did. They did. They found his remains on my birthday, unfortunately. He was kayaking, and I guess that he had hit his head, and I believe they found his remains after that. Like, it took a while. I know it took a while for them to find his remains, unfortunately.
I knew that they found his vehicle, but not his kayak, and not him for a long time. That's the last I heard of anything.
Yeah, I'm about 90% sure that what I'm saying there is correct. Because I do remember, like, one of my birthdays, I remember reading about it and just being so upset about it, you know? Like, again, I had never met him, but it was one of those things where I'd heard so many stories, and it's just one of those things that, like, really really pushed me to want to do this podcast, is just because, you know, had I had the opportunity to talk with him, it would have honestly probably meant a lot to me. Like, he's a local legend, right? Like, I love to hear stories from everybody, and it's unfortunate that I never got to hear his.
Yeah, I wish I would have got to meet him, like, because I would seriously, like, I would talk to him on the phone. You know, it was we didn't have whatever phone thing we're using right now, like. But I would talk to him on the phone, and my phone bill would be huge because it would just be like the same conversation I'm having with you now. Like, we would just go on and on and on about stories about shit back in the day, and just have these conversations that would be like an hour and a half. And, like, I never got a chance to meet him, but I was like such good friends with him just from bullshit with him on the phone.
Yeah.
And he hooked me up with stuff, and he had me make some axles for their bikes too. And he had everybody filming, yeah, and those, like, you know, he just really brought like a great random crew of dudes to. I mean, we still met up this year in Hoodoo, and it was amazing, and hopefully we meet again soon because those guys are awesome. Like, and you know, his legend's always gonna live on, you know, because like. He come up with drifter ski bikes, and him and Maverick, you know, made it happen and made a company out of it. And the company turned into, we're like a bunch of BMX punks going to a big mountain bike race and doing tricks, and it was the best trip ever. You know, we gotta do more. Like, and yeah, man, rest in peace, Dave. He was a badass.
Hell yeah, man. Rest in peace, Dave, and rest in peace, Brian, right? Two legends.
Brian's badass too. Like, just unreal, smooth style. Like, just life's short, man, you know, and when stuff like that happens, it kind of just makes you look at life differently and think, like, you know, don't put shit off, because you never know how long it's going to be. Don't, be real to people that you want to be real to, because you don't know how long it's going to be. Get the tricks over with that you want to get over with, because you never know. That's the one thing that's not guaranteed in life ever. Your main guarantee in life is that someday it's going to be over. You don't know when, and you don't know how much time you got. You don't know, could seem like forever, could seem like tomorrow, could be tomorrow. You never know. Make the most out of it, like accomplish goals, and, like be real. You love somebody, tell them you love them. You got something you want to say to somebody, say it. Like, do it. You only get one chance.
Absolutely.
You only freaking live once, eh? Make it, you hosers.
I love it. I would honestly love to end it there, but we got some fan questions here, so let's jump into those, and I got one more after that for you, and we'll go from there. So this one is from Jez Armstrong. What was it like the first time pulling a backflip to sprocket stall?
Oh, the flip to sprocket. I was out in Philly filming for Criminal Mischief, and Heaton had just learned flip to manuals. And we're riding at that park that was, somebody just posted something about it. It was called Vert Planet or something. Garrett also got a clip there that's on that. And there was a steep quarter that was onto the side of the mini ramp. And so I thought I was going to do a flip to manual on that. And so I was trying flip to manuals, but I was landing so close to the coping because it was extra steep. And I was like, gonna like case and pop my tire. And so I was like, well, shit, what if I just go a little slower, pull out a little more and do flip sprocket, So went over to the other quarter and did it till it happened. And it was like, it was one of those things where try to do what somebody else is doing and it's not working, so do something else. And it just happened to work out. And my foot kind of dabbed, but it pretty much worked out. And it was just like, dang, that's as far as I've never seen anybody do it. It was probably the same exact moment in time in Texas. Morgan Wade learned the flip to sprocket at the same exact time, basically, but mine got footage on that. He came up with it on his own too. So Morgan came up with it, and I came up with it same year, and I got that clip, and I got credit for it because he came up with it on his own too.
I love it. It's such an iconic trick, right? Like you doing it in Criminal Mischief, and then you also doing the flip to wall ride in Criminal Mischief. And then there was a contest where you did, it was like a flip to wall ride, but I feel like it was more like a flare. I forget what contest that was. Do you know what it was?
Excuse me. Roots. There was Roots, and they were actually like, Roots was awesome because it was all about the session, whether it was a contest or not at the time with those Roots. There was just session, and it was so awesome. And they were actually taking down the ramps, and we had to unscrew the ramp and pull the quarter that was in front of the wall. We had to pull it back a couple feet so that I could squeeze the flip in to film that when they were taking down the ramps. And that was after the flip to angle bank thing that, excuse me, that I did on Criminal Mischief. And the first time I did that flip to angle bank thing, it wasn't the one that's on the video. Me and Elf had a contest at that skate park, and that was a heat of the moment, and I did one there. Like, I squeezed in a flip in front of that angle wall at that thing. Excuse me. And for Criminal Mischief, I had to refilm it for that part. And another thing about the flip to sprockets, the other flip to sprocket that's on Criminal Mischief, I had never done a sprocket to 180. Like, I couldn't. I didn't know how to do a sprocket to 180. I was like scared I was gonna like clip my front tire on the 180 in. So that was my first sprocket to 180 in, was like after doing a flip, and I was so scared that I was gonna clip my front tire. I didn't know how to sprocket to 180 in on the corner.
What's so wild about it is that, like, no, I don't want to learn, just a normal sprocket stall to 180 back in. I would rather flip into it and then go to it. I'm like, wow, that's incredible.
It was just the thing about flip to sprockets, like, because I did a bunch of them, and it's like, nobody ever does like a 4-foot air to sprocket on a quarter pipe. That's all it is. You just go do a big, huge air to sprocket, like 4 feet high. Like, it's really stupid because you're not doing a trick, but you just go really, really high to sprocket, and then don't think about it and do a flip. Like, that's what it was to me.
Yeah.
Like, just throw a flip in some place where you could do high enough air to do a flip and go that speed, and don't think about the flip, because that's all a flip really is like, you don't think for a second. Flips are easier than threes. You just don't think for that split second and make yourself do it. Like, same on a trampoline, same off a diving board. There's that split second where you don't think that you're going to land on your head. You get past that and go past the point of no return. And it's just that split second where I was like, okay, throw a flip in here. I don't know. It's funny.
No, I love it. I think that's great, man. It's such an iconic trick that I think, you're really known for, is both those tricks. Anyways, from Aaron Holloway, who are some of the current riders you're stoked on?
Oh, geez. So many people are so insane now. Like, I mean, anybody that's having fun, Tate, Tiku, Nick, Brady, all my friends, of course, and then there's just the people that are just unreal, putting out great video parts. Sims is killing it, like, just another level. Like, there's just endless names. Elf's holding it down for just still pushing it with the street. There's just so many people. It's so hard to, like, throw down some names of some people. Like, geez, jumping tricks and crazy stuff. Logan Martin's nuts. Like, Chris Fox. Like, he came to Layton Park. It was so unreal. Geez, who's on top of the game? Reynolds always. Oh, man. Like, so many people. Like, so nuts. And, like, I like, I'm inspired by progression of everything, like Flatlanders, like Terry Adams, Matthias. There's so many other Flatland names like, geez, Dave Norrie, like, bringing out the old school. Like, so many people are doing so awesome and so unreal. I would have to sit down and write it down as to how many people are killing it. Or people that I want to ride with, or people that are fun to be around, or people that make the awesome parts, or video parts. Or it's such an inspiration. It's a new inspiration all day, every day. As soon as you pick up your phone and see who came out with what, like this, Hucker's awesome. Like, Buzz coming over. There's just so many. It's just too many to think of. I could just ramble on about. Anybody that's having a great time, and those people that are pushing the limits, it's anything entertaining, anybody that makes me want to go ride and, like, not feel wore out from work, motivate, take inspiration from.
Absolutely, man. I think, you mentioned Terry Adams there, and one of the things that I love about Terry is the fact that, he's this year's Nora Cup Flatland winner, but the fact that he was so humble about it, and that dude literally cried tears of joy because he was so, like blown away and so humbled by the fact that he actually won Rider of the Year for flatlanding, right? And like the fact of the matter is that Terry has been a flatland pro and on top of the game for, 15 fucking years. And this dude is still humbled by the fact that everybody went out of their way to say that this guy is the most important guy of 2020 for flatland.
You know what it is? Terry works hard. Terry rides for the right reasons. That's another good thing to talk about. That's what people see through, like that's what people get behind. That's what people relate to, to go get it for why, because I have to, not to like just put in the work for it because like just the determination, like the amount of time it takes to get that skill and the amount of determination to like, conquer your battles that you went through. Everybody gets behind it and he deserves it. And, that's what it's all about, It's like his version of being the kid jumping off the boards, but it's insane, or like, like it's just like way more work than a board and a 2x4.
Absolutely. The last month or so, I was just trying to learn a few flatland tricks. I live really close to like an outdoor arena that has this perfect smooth concrete, and just trying these tricks, man, it was so difficult. Like I would go over there for about an hour a day, just put my headphones in and just try these ridiculous balance tricks that Terry would scoff and laugh at. He'd be like, "Oh, you're doing that?" Like just so ridiculous, right? Like
no, that's the thing. You say it, scoff and laugh at him, but if he was there sessioning with you, he'd be so with you on you doing them. Like just, like, because he knows where it's like to come from that and what it was like when he learned that. And, like, it's like, and it's a solo battle, He'd be psyched that somebody was going through the same solo battle that he went through.
Hell yeah, man.
Like, it's what it's all about, for sure, especially flatland. Like, it's about putting in the time without having... sometimes you're having a session with some people who will say, yeah, but for the most part, you have to put in a lot more work than the amount of time that you're going to be around your friends and stuff,
Yeah, absolutely. I've honestly kind of considered building a flatland setup just to go and learn those tricks because for years I've been so inspired and so like into flatland riding, right? Like I love watching these guys ride because it's incredible to see some of the things that they're able to accomplish. And I just feel like, street riding and freestyle riding is so much different in a way. Like, I'm not saying that one is harder than the other because I think that they're both difficult in their own ways, right? Like with street riding and filming and whatnot, I feel like you're more prone to getting hurt. Whereas with flatland riding, it's more of a mental battle and more of that. And I'm not saying you're not going to get hurt because obviously in flatland riding, people have taken some hard slams.
Oh yeah, flatland slams are rough for sure. Like,
yeah,
it's almost like a different genre of music. It's kind of like a different genre of music. A different scene, a different style, a different time, a different place. It's like a different genre of music.
Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty, so another one from the listeners, and this is actually a great question to transition into. Can we get a flatland edit, Matt?
Oh, man. I'll try to film some stuff in here sometime since we're getting shut down from everything in my little circle right here. That'd be fun.
I would love to see it. Even
I haven't been going out for the solo flatland sessions quite as much. I did a couple weeks ago, rolled up around town, but that would be fun. I'd like to, but it's all going to be self-filmed with my little tripod that my camera's on now for sure.
That'll still be really cool, man.
How much time I put in. Whoever asked me that question, I never do edits anymore though. It's always an Instagram clip. I'm like, it's hard to find time to actually like collect enough stuff to not just like do an Instagram post to say, hey, I still ride.
Fair enough, eh?
You know, it's
Oh,
hard
man.
it's hard to save stuff and not just say, hey, I rode, you know, when it's few and far between that I ride because I'm at work or I'm doing house stuff or shop stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So this next one,
It's hard to save clips when it's not your job anymore.
yeah. So this next one comes from Wyatt Carmen. What's the best sprocket guard you have ever ridden?
Definitely the potty mouth guard, Wyatt. Wyatt used to be a local at the Proving Grounds Park, and he made a sprocket guard called the potty mouth. And it was a clear sprocket guard, and it was so awesome. It was for larger sprockets. I took my sprocket guard for the larger sprocket, and I cut it down for a smaller sprocket. Wyatt moved to Vegas, and now he sessions. He still rides. He still rides mini ramp. He's got front brakes. Wyatt's a badass. He's in the Utah Senior Port doing a frame stand ice pick grind on the mini ramp at Proving Grounds. Cheers, Wyatt.
Hell yeah, man.
Mouth,
That's sick.
potty mouth guard, of course. I mean, sure, I've made others, but like it didn't like have the potty mouth bad words on the sticker, and it wasn't clear. I did metal ones.
I love it. That's so cool that it was clear. It must have been crazy plastic or something.
Yeah, it was thick. It was probably like 3/8 or a half-inch thick clear plastic. It was awesome. It's awesome that however he got it made, it was awesome sprocket guard. I still have a piece of it somewhere. Man, it was for. This was an old S&M sprocket that I made into the outside guard.
Oh, wow.
And this part of the guard here, you can still see the potty mouth sticker, I think.
Yeah.
That was a part of a potty mouth bigger sprocket guard that I cut down.
Wow, that's incredible, man.
It said bad words on it.
I love it.
Underneath the potty mouth logo.
That's so sweet, honestly. This last one from the fans comes in from Jacob Price. What's the gnarliest flip to sprocket stall you have ever done?
Oh, the gnarliest. Like, I think it was a photo in Plus, and it was at the CFB contest in Kona in Florida. And it was the only time I ever did one on a sub box. And it wasn't that big of a sub box, but it was probably like maybe like a 3 foot or 4 foot sub box. And it was back a little bit from the corner. And I did a flip to sprocket on the sub box. That one was pretty damn scary because it was up from it a bit. That's the only time I ever did it on there. So that one was pretty scary. I mean, as for gnarly, when it comes to not doing one in a long time, it was the Battle Hastings one. It was just like get thrown into a contest with the best badass dudes ever and pull that out of my ass. Okay, excuse the language, but all right, you know, like I can't do anything anywhere else. I better try to go to one of the old go-tos I haven't done in years. So that was a good one, but you know, gnarly. As for gnarly, the soapbox one was pretty scary. You know, as to jumping up, and that's thinking back back in the day when they were new to me and stuff. I mean, I'm sure. I don't know. It's always like a huge error to sprocket case. You know, you just don't think about the flip. And there's times I did them on cement where it's a lot scarier. Cement's always scarier than wood ramps, but I'd say that one was pretty scary, the sub thing. And that's the only time I ever stepped up to that.
Wow, it's so wild to think about that, right? Was the one that you did at Battle of Hastings when Dave Asado came out of retirement?
Yeah. Yeah, I got to do a bike ride with Dave and go shopping for like knickknacks and stuff to bring back home. It was cool hanging out with him. Like being around them, you know, talking about life after we've gotten old and haven't seen each other for years. And yeah, what a setting to throw us into, you know, like so awesome. That place is unreal. Cheers Fids for inviting me, and cheers everybody that has to deal with that contest or Source Park. Like, that was unreal. Like, definitely amazing to get thrown back into something that I was all about when I was in my mid-20s, when I was 40. That was something else. I'm really appreciative that I got a chance to do that, for sure. And I'm glad I didn't crash bad enough to get hurt, you know, like going there and trying to, you know, get in the mix with all the young guns that are better than anybody ever these days. So cheers to everybody involved with that. That was awesome.
Hell yeah, man. That's so rad, honestly. You know, the Battle of Hastings contest is something I look forward to every year, and it was pretty heartbreaking that it didn't happen this year, but understandably, right? We weren't able to, so.
Is that what you were going to go to this year?
I had some other ideas as well, but I really wanted to try and get there, you know? It was something that if I was going to go to the UK, I would go when the Battle of Hastings contest was going down, and then I would go from there and visit all the people that I've met through the podcast and just through the internet, so.
That's cool. Go whenever you get a chance to go there, go to Romford too. I love Romford. Like, I thought it was going to close down for good, but they're back up and running again. And before I die, I want to go back to Romford because I love Romford Park. England's fun as hell too. Cheers everybody in England. I always love it when I get a chance to make it over there. And if it's once every 10 years, I'll be back when I'm 50, and I probably won't flip the sprocket, but I want to go to Romford.
I love it. Oh, man. Matt, this has been incredible. Honestly, huge thank you. You know, we've been talking for over 4 hours at this point, which is wild. I love it, you know?
Yeah, good luck editing all that stuff.
It's going to be a couple days. When everybody gets this, I'll let you know right now. It is Thursday evening, so if I get this out by Monday, I'm very happy. But anyways, yeah.
You got some stuff to go through. But it's been great talking to you, and I'm feeling a little buzzed from drinking beers while I'm talking to you, so I better go in and eat some food so I can get up and go to work tomorrow. But cheers for having me. It's been a great talk. That's all the rage these days is the podcast and all that stuff. So as you gradually watch this, you'll gradually see me start to gradually rant more and more and more until here you go. A couple beers deep, Matt.
There we go. So before you go, we have one last question for you. And this one is, as someone who has rode BMX for over 30 years, how do you stay motivated and keep it fun?
Oh, wow. Finding the time, good tunes, good friends, good music. Sometimes watching all the, sometimes scrolling Instagram and seeing the latest, greatest doesn't motivate me to dust off my bike and go out and do something. Sometimes I got to dig deep and find look at the times of my life when I was in my 20s and try to recreate how much fun I had. Sometimes a good friend being around. All the times when good friends are around, sometimes you got to get everybody motivated. Sometimes somebody else motivates you. Looking at old stuff, looking at new stuff. You just got to find inspiration and find the time and put in the effort to just, get that feeling like you did when you were a little kid jumping off a board, sticking up on a 2x4. It's just like, you got to pick your battles differently as you age, but there's certain things that'll make you want to pick that battle that you can't say no to and not, do what you have to till you get it over with. And sometimes that battle's a damn peg wheelie in the driveway. Sometimes that's something you looked at for years. Sometimes it's about meeting up with somebody you haven't seen forever because, you miss the times you've had, and when you get together with that person, you're going to have the times that you had, hopefully. And, you know, it's all about fun, and it's all about just refusing to grow old, you know, pretty much. You know, age is just a number. It's all about having a great time and having fun like a little kid on a little kid's toy, which a BMX bike is, and as much as it can become your life and as serious as it can get. It's all about the good times and good friends and making memories that last and inspiring people to do the thing and have the great times, and, you know, cheers to the next day, you know, do it while you can. I don't know, don't grow old. Tell yourself you are, and pick your battles, and I could go on and on and on. That's about it, you know. It's all where you're at in life, you know, who you're around, and like, I don't know, there's always just going to be that little kid in me that's looking for that fun that I had when I was a little kid, and I think that that's a part of everybody.
Hell yeah, man. That's such a great answer, you know? And especially for someone who has rode BMX for over 30 years, right? Like, you really got to think about kind of where you started and where you've come since then and how you've stayed motivated, right? Like, it's just incredible to sit here and hear your story today.
Everybody's started where they started, and everybody has their story, and everybody has a lot longer story to keep coming up with. And it's going to, you know, part of your story is going to do stuff you never would have thought would happen. And part of your story is going to be taking care of the things that you always wanted to make it happen.
Hell yeah, man.
That's life.
I don't think there's a better way to end this off after that. So I just want to thank everybody who's made it this far. Thank you guys for watching. And Matt, again, huge thank you to you for joining us today. But yeah, we will see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Cheers. Peace.